Gentlemen, this is the Conservation Commission meeting of October 13th. Our first hearing, just for those of you, Commission will read the notice of intent, then we will have the applicant make presentation. The Commission will then go through and ask any questions. We'll then open it up to the audience for any questions or comments. You would identify yourself for the record if you care to speak. Okay. Town of Walpole Land Disturbance Permit, Notice of Intent, Conservation Commission Public Hearing in accordance with Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice hereby given the intent of Walsh Brothers Construction Company for activity associated with construction of a 24-lot residential subdivision within the jurisdiction of wetland resource areas, within the jurisdiction of stormwater and erosion control bylaw and regulations for work of 40,000 square feet or over at 533 Lincoln Road in Walpole, Mass. Plans on file in the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing in the above matter will be held at Walpole Town Hall, 135 School Street, October 13th, 2021, beginning at 7 p.m. All interested persons request to be present. Contact Conservation at 508-660-7253 with questions. So,
Big plan.
was that your presentation?
Yep, that's that one.
Oh, okay, all right, let's go.
Representing the applicant?
Oh, this is yours, Dean.
All of our own?
I guess so.
Do you really want to? Sure. Yeah, that one.
Let's share.
For those who are interested in this hearing, if you want to swing around so you can see what is being presented, help yourselves. Okay, representing
seen
the
it.
applicant.
Good evening, for the
You
record.
can drag your chairs around if you want.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's yours. Rob Truax of GLM Engineering Consultants here for the applicant. The applicant, Walsh Brothers Building Company, John Walsh, is also here this evening. So we did, we have two things on the agenda tonight. We have a notice of intent on the agenda, and we also have a land disturbance permit. I'm not sure which one. Did you read both ads, Mr. Chairman, or just? Okay. So at this time, we'd like to request to withdraw the notice of intent without prejudice for the project. At this time, we're not going to go forward with the notice of intent. It's not necessary for the construction of the roadways, which will take some years to do, so we'll maybe visit that at a later date. However, we are going to go forward with the land disturbance permit because it oversees the entire site, and there is a lot of disturbance on the site with the gravel remover, et cetera. We submitted a letter today via email. I can give you a copy, but I think you might have it in your file.
We have it.
So we'd like to ask the board to at least get your opinion on the withdrawal of the application for the notice of intent.
Okay. Landis, any comment?
No, that's fine, they're in their purview to do that.
Okay. Comments from the board? Dean?
No.
Bailey?
No.
Doug? No. Betsy?
No,
Al?
No comment.
Okay, so we need to vote to accept the withdrawal of the notice of intent. So someone make that a motion?
So moved.
second.
Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience, any comments? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. 600. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So this is a project site that's before the planning board, under the planning board rules and regs for a definitive subdivision. We have 28.8 acres located off Lincoln Road. It abuts the Walpole Sportsman's Club to the rear, Home for Little Wanderers property to the right, and then it abuts Deerfield Drive and the residential homes within that area. And on the other side of the property, it abuts the town line of the town of Norfolk, and I believe that's the Stock River over there that we abut on the far end. The project is shown on the board. There's a roadway coming in from Lincoln Road that will loop around, come out, and connect onto Deerfield Drive off the other side of the project. The area shown in light green is the area of proposed disturbance for the site. The area in dark green is the area that gets preserved in its natural state, which is treed. The area shown in light green, all that work is outside of the 100-foot buffer to the BBW and also outside the 200-foot setback for the riverfront. So at this time, for the roadway construction and some of the construction that will take place in the beginning stages of the property, there's really no need for any work to take place in those buffer zones or those resource areas. So that was the reason for the withdrawal of the application. There may be some years before there's any work down that end of the project site. So we're disturbing approximately 24-plus acres on the site. We have a comprehensive drainage system for the project. The project will be serviced by town water. There is no sewer in the area, so there will be all on-site septic systems. See if I have the existing site up there. I'm going to give you a little view of what the existing site and the runoff patterns in the area look like. That's the existing site as it sits today. If you were to come in off of Deerfield Drive and walk up the hill, it goes up about,
Sorry.
it goes up about 40 to 50 feet in elevation at about a 2-to-1 slope.
You can bring a chair over and put it right there.
I'll probably just ask if you have an opportunity to ask for clarification.
You want to come over here, just put your chair there? Okay.
We don't
So,
know.
the site, as you can see it right now, so we have, bring this with me.
What number are
Where's
you
that
on?
sheet on that?
This is a runoff sheet that just shows the proposed stormwater runoff areas. I'm sorry.
So what number is it?
We're so excited.
You could look at sheet, I believe it's 2, shows the existing conditions. And overall,
That's in the stormwater report that I asked for large size.
2.
didn't have large sizes. I believe I put them in the back of the folders. No? All right. You can have
Carl
these.
and I went through trying to figure out what was planning board, what was disturbance, and what was notice of intent, and it was confusing.
Okay. So I just want to give you an overview of how the site, how everything happens from a drainage standpoint, so you can see. So this is the top of the hill, up in here. And at the top of the hill, there's a couple small kettle holes. That portion of the runoff never leaves the site. It just recharges back into the ground. There's this area here that goes into a kettle hole at the top here, and then this area here goes into another kettle hole on the side. And then there's even an additional one that actually is on the property line, which kind of partly goes on the Walpole Sportsman's Association property, and this goes into a kettle hole as well. So there's only portions of the site that actually drain off towards abutting properties or towards the river area. This area down here in the back is what drains towards the river, directly towards the wetlands. There's some areas that drain down towards Deerfield Drive, a little bit here that drains down in towards the tributary. This is a part of the river as well that drains into the Stop River, which is down here off the back, goes out that way. And all this runoff from this side of the site gets down into that area. There's an area in the front that comes out towards the street. This is existing flows come down towards Lincoln Road. They actually have flows down to a couple of butters' driveways. The first driveway gets a little flooded on the storm conditions because they don't have a culvert under the driveway. There's an isolated area that ponds and then flows over their driveway, but there is a culvert under the second driveway, which lets the water go under and doesn't have the same situation taking place. I just wanted to kind of just go over that so you can get a general idea. So the soils in the area, are all sands and gravels. We've done several borings, several test pits on the site. We've got a really good feel for what the materials are. We've done borings down 60, 65 feet on the site. We did not hit water. There's no water table issues with taking the site down. The site in this area right here is coming down approximately 40 feet in elevation, just to give you a rough idea. So we're coming in with a roadway off of Deerfield. We've maxed out the slope requirements per the planning board regulations to get to what we're calling Parsons Lane. And then we go up gradient to Lincoln, what we're calling Aver Drive, and then back out, sloping towards Lincoln Road and a gradual slope out with some cul-de-sacs. So as far as the stormwater runoff goes from the new proposed situation, we have several drainage basins that are going to capture and collect the runoff and recharge it back into the ground. Everything's 100% recharged. All the homes will have stormwater systems that will handle up to and including the 100-year storm event, and that's 3 or 5 inch storm event under your stormwater bylaw. That's what's required now, not the 7 inch anymore. So when you come into the site, there will be a drainage basin out front. That only picks up a small area of the end of the road. There's a second drainage basin, which is storm basin number 2, which is right here, and it's actually a low area that was dug out. Looks like they did some gravel removal there many years ago.
Sheet you're on?
This is just an overview sheet. I'm sorry. This is not in your plan set. It was just very difficult to show everything on one sheet. I think everything is spread out. The site is spread out at 40 scale.
Ditch basins, Steve?
You would have to go through, I can show you, yeah.
I know.
So we start with sheet 12. Drainage basin 1 and 2 is on sheet 12. And then you back it through the site, and you go to sheet 11 and sheet 10. Sheet 11 shows the cul-de-sac. Set.
That's all right.
And then if you go to sheet 10, you'll see where Deerfield Drive comes in and the other cul-de-sac. But this is just put on one sheet for presentation purposes, which I can give you this sheet. You know, I can submit that to Landis if you want a copy of it, that's fine. I can give it to you in color as well, it's not an issue. So this drainage basin here is located down along the roadway that goes into the Walpole Sportsman's Club. This is a recharge basin. These basins are designed to recharge all the way up to the 100-year storm event, so it's going to put all the water back in the ground. We had very high permeability rates out there, fast, rapid return of water. So this basin actually picks up about from here to about here in part of these lots. We do have some drainage swales that contribute to this basin. So the back of lots 1, 2, and 3, there's an easement across the back where there's a grass swale that picks up the water from these 3 lots and off the top of the hill and directs that to the basin. Again, this basin in the front really just picks up this last couple of catch basins out here at the street. There is a swale that comes up behind off of lot 22, which also directs any water heading in that direction. The hill is here, so this is a cut and it goes up, so water can't get from these lots over to the abutting property. It has to come down through here and get into the swale and go to the basin. So we're capturing all that runoff, not letting it get to the neighbor's property once we cut in the roadway and the lots. And then as you come up to the other half of the site, this cul-de-sac, Parsons Lane, all this water is directed and piped through catch basins and manholes and is brought all the way down here to the rear corner where there's a large drainage basin right back in the rear corner of the site. These lots all slope in that direction behind the houses. They come slightly towards the road and slightly along the berm. So we are proposing on this grading plan, if you look, you'll see this berm, which is anywhere from 14 to 20 feet in elevation from the grades around the houses. It goes up. So the idea was that these houses, the top of this berm is about the height of the gutter. And that's really to provide screening to the Walpole Sportsman's Club and the shooting ranges that are over there. Sight and sound, hopefully. There is a planting plan. Plants will be put on the top of this, mostly evergreens to help screen it as well as buffer the sound as it comes through. Deerfield Drive slopes from Parsons Lane out to the existing road. We're picking all this drainage up. The last set of catch basins are right at the property line. and that's going into an underground recharge system that's right down here at the bottom of the hill. That has an emergency overflow, which goes out towards the back of lot 16 and 14, which eventually will flow down towards the wetland area. The outfall is back outside the 200-foot riparian. This is the 200 right here. It comes around the site, goes up here, actually goes over here, and then up like that. And then this is the 100-foot buffer from the wetland, way down into the green here. So the limit of work, would be where the erosion controls would be set. The limit of work would be set outside those parameters. So that's pretty much an overview. I will state that the overall site, there's approximately 600,000 plus yards of material that's being removed from the site for the roadway and the house construction. This plan that you're looking at shows the overall impacts to the site. The plan before the planning board only shows the impacts that are required to construct the roadways, drainage facilities, and what's required under their purview. But as far as the land disturbance goes, we're here to show you the overall impacts. The drainage design is done based on overall impacts, not just the roadway and the slopes for that roadway. So there are two sets of plans out there, what you're looking at and what the planning board's looking at, just so in case you're looking and you see a difference. There will be a difference in the grading that the planning board approves and what the conservation approves. I think that's pretty much an overview. You know, we've provided you with a draft copy of the SWIP. I think that was in your package. We have erosion control plans on there. We have some temporary basins, temporary swales. I will say that the site, because of the type of soil, we have good gravels and sands, so you're not going to get the high erosion from those type of soils that you would from a till or a clay type soil. So that's beneficial for the area. When we do start taking out the roadway, everything will be contained within the site. There'll be side slopes that go up, so nothing's really going to be able to get out from inside where the containment is. This whole site, as you go around, including right here, is all built up around the perimeter. So nothing can get off the site. The same as you come around the back of these lots, same type of situation. All this water is caught inside. There'll also be some berming over on this side as well. So the site's getting lowered and the edges are higher with berms around the perimeter. So just to give you an idea how it all works. We did submit a phasing plan. That's going to get altered, I have to say, based on what the planning board's going to approve. So we are going to, in some sense, we were going to go in and work in the back and work our way out, but at this time now, we're going to work just the roadways first and do the cutting for that and what's required to get that in place, and then come out from the back forward, just taking out the lot areas and building the houses as we come out. But we do need, before we can take and prep all the house lots and build them, we do need to get the roadway in place down to a binder course. So I can give you an updated phasing plan that'll show how that'll work, but that's based on how the approval process is going to go for us. Okay. So, any questions? John's here as well. We can do our best to answer them.
Okay, there's a letter here from Carl Bolduff, the town engineer. Did you receive that?
I've received that and got a couple others since. I don't know which review that was. We've had a couple iterations of review. I think, is that to the planning board or to the
This
commission?
was addressed to the planning board.
So his latest letter was probably about 3 weeks ago.
I just wanted to do, some of these are planning board issues, some of them all right. One is about how the roof recharge systems are routed into the model.
So a lot of that's been clarified. Just to give you some bring you up to speed on where we've gone with the planning board process. So it's been reviewed by Carl, town engineer. He's had 3 iterations of comments. It also went to Beta Consulting Group. Is that who it was, Beta? Beta. And they did 2 rounds of review for the planning board. So I think, unfortunately, you don't have all those letters, apparently, you don't, especially the last one. So we've had meetings with the town engineer, we've gone back out to the site with the town engineer. I think that first letter, he was looking for additional testing. We've gone out and done additional testing. We've been on the site probably 3 or 4 times now, digging test pits. We've revised some of the drainage. One of the comments in there, I believe, was the first round, we did not size everything based on your new, it's not really new, but it was in your stormwater bylaw that you use the climate curves, which brings the rainfall intensities up from where they were, a few years ago. We were using a 7-inch storm for the 100-year. Now I believe it's like 8.3 or 4. I don't really know the exact number off the top of my head. And so that's all been updated in the latest drainage reports that have been out. So a lot of those things were ironed out. I believe the last letter that went out basically said all the technical comments and issues had been resolved. There are some things with the planning board that he put in as conditions of approval. We've made some offerings as far as off-site improvements go in the project. I don't know if you're concerned with that. We can tell you what they are if you're concerned. One of them might actually pertain to this board a little bit. So we have agreed to put new sidewalk on Deerfield Lane. We've also agreed to work with the town engineer and the neighbor with the driveway that the water floods over to come up with a resolution. Might be a culvert under their driveway with their permission. It might be something in the street to deter the water from going there. So we don't have an answer, but we have agreed to work with them at the cost of the applicant to resolve that issue of some sort. So that's going to be a condition of approval with the planning board. And then there's also, we're working to do some work on Plain Street because they just put in a new water line and it's been patched and the road's in kind of rough conditions. So we've made some comments that we would participate in the upgrade of that road to get it repaved. So there are some significant off-site improvements that the applicant is amenable to doing for the town.
So, Chairman, I think if maybe, I did talk to Carl briefly today, but maybe I can talk to him about getting a letter specifically to the Conservation Commission related to the land disturbance permit. I think that would be
That would be appropriate.
appropriate.
Okay. Okay. Landis?
So this is a land disturbance permit, so it's the stormwater erosion control bylaw and regulations, and so a lot of what you discussed was kind of planning board stuff, except I guess you're just filing the road construction with the planning board. So under the regulations, one of the sections, 5 of A, is stormwater plans shall incorporate the following wherever possible. Management practices and/or recommendation recommended by the commission or consultant. So I think usually with the stormwater management plan, land disturbance permit, we look at how you can actually work with the topography and the site, which it doesn't seem like you are, because you're changing grades significantly. Besides vegetative swale, vegetative filter strip, water efficient irrigation systems, pervious pavement surfaces, retention basins, bioretention areas, but building blended into natural features, preserve unique natural features of the site, and then a non-invasive species plan, natural landscaping species, landscaping areas that retain water and appropriate to soil and microclimate, buildings oriented towards the sun for energy efficiency. So I guess I would like to know a little bit, and I know it's been discussed in various ways.
Oh, that's fine.
Why you're taking grades down 40, 30 feet. the subdivision?
Well,
Why can't you work with the topography of the property?
Two reasons. One, we have to get into the site, so we have to meet the maximum slopes of the roadways to get in there, and we're doing that when we come in off Deerfield. We've maximized the slope requirements, and that gets us to Ava Drive for the leveling areas, or Parsons Ave, I'm sorry. And then once we get there, we have a 40-foot cut. So it almost, so it's basically impossible.
To get there, you what?
We have a 40-foot cut. So you're going up 40 to 50 feet off the end of Deerfield Drive in a span of about 100 feet. So it's like a 1.5 to a 2 to 1 slope. So it's virtually impossible to build a road to come from Deerfield Drive to the top of that hill without having a 30 or 40% slope. So we've taken the grade from the end of the existing road, which is Deerfield. We maximize the slope required for a centerline roadway under the subdivision control law, and we've brought that up to Parsons Lane. And when you get to that intersection, there's about a 40-foot cut from the top of the hill to where that roadway meets.
And with the road that you're coming off of Lincoln Road?
No, Lincoln's not the same, but I mean, we're coming in, we don't have the cuts a lot when you come in off Lincoln as you do. The biggest cuts are up at the top of the site.
So you couldn't come in off Lincoln and not have those same 40-foot cuts?
I don't have a 40-foot cut off of Lincoln.
Exactly, that's what I mean. You're just described Deerfield.
I have to
But
loop
if
the
you were-
roadway. I
if you were
can't,
to
I
come
have
up-
to, I have to bring the roadway in and have a way out in order to maximize the use of the property. I'd only be allowed a 750-foot dead end. The other thing you have to keep in mind, these are all septic systems. You're not gonna build a septic system on the side of a hill. You gotta flatten the lot out in order to build a septic system. So you gotta grade the lots to put the utilities in. You gotta grade the road, you're gonna grade the roads to meet the regulations. And we're gonna take it down in order, once the road gets taken down, you can't build on a 3 to 1 slope with a house on the side of a roadway. So the lots are gonna come down, and they're gonna get graded out and re-landscaped and lawned and seeded, and there'll be septic systems on each site.
So there's no way, you're saying there's no way to design this project to maintain some of the existing vegetation, which, do you have a plan that shows that?
The whole site's wooded.
Wooded pines, oaks?
I don't really know all the species out there, but
That's
there's,
part
it's
of
not
a-
very
I
thick.
think that's part of a requirement of the stormwater plan, to show the existing vegetation.
Well,
So
it's all-
you're
I
saying there's
mean-
no way to do your project and maintain some of the existing vegetation? or
That's
grades?
correct. The only thing that's being maintained is what's in dark green.
Is-
What's in dark green.
Okay, so that was one of my questions, which I guess would be nice to have a little more information of why you can't maintain some of the existing grades. And then
Dennis, can
my
I ask
other,
a question out of turn, only because I want to be clarifying something that, oh, Jack. Can I ask a question out of turn that was going to clarify something? So it sounded as though you were constrained by maybe some other board or committee that required you to have roads of certain slopes. That's kind of the way you said. You said you had slope requirements that, that were out of your hands and you were.
That's correct.
So what committee or board told
The
you?
subdivision rules and regulations have maximum slopes.
But planning board didn't specifically say anything about you absolutely have to have certain.
Yeah, it's in their regulations.
I just wanted to clarify that because so far, I don't think anyone's told you that you need to.
No,
Follow
but I
not a
can't,
vehicle.
I have to design per the regulations. I can't just go in and make a road 20%. And they wouldn't allow it anyway. I mean, it's not safe.
Who's the they?
They is the planning board. It's not safe to put a road at 20%. The maximum slope, I'm trying to guess now off the top of my head, I believe it's 8%.
All right, so planning board wouldn't allow it. Okay, thanks. All right, sorry. Yeah.
Anything else then, Landis?
and then my other question is just with the change in grades being in some places 40 or 30 feet, what impact does that have on the groundwater and the surface water?
So we haven't, we did borings down 60 feet. We're cutting down about 30 to 40, and we did not have groundwater at 60-foot depths.
But what impact is when you have water percolating through the ground 30, 40 feet, eventually further than that into the groundwater?
I mean, it's still gonna
And
percolate.
when you change it, you're
It's-
gonna change it, the
It's
distance
still gonna
from the
percolate through the
groundwater.
ground,
Right. What
right?
it's still gonna go there, but is there any impact? Is there any change? I imagine it would go a lot faster.
Not gonna go any faster.
You include that in your calculations?
No, we don't do it. We did not do a hydrological study of the geotechnical soils to look at the groundwaters and how they'd be impacted in that sense from taking the hill down. The town requires that if you're cutting to a certain level, that you can't cut within so many feet of the groundwater table. So we meet that requirement. We're about 20 feet above we don't even know where the water tables are because we haven't found them on the middle of the site. The only place we hit water tables was down by the bottom of the slope near the wetland area.
Yeah,
It's-
because sometimes it goes down and then moves laterally, it doesn't just go
That's
straight
correct.
down.
But
So
we've done
how is
borings
it gonna
on,
change?
but we've done borings on top of the hill that go down over 60 feet, and we didn't hit water.
But could you tell that there may be a pattern of it moving laterally at some point?
We would have intercepted it. We would have
Not
intercepted,
if it already
we didn't get any
moved.
indication of water moving laterally or being hung up in the soils. We didn't have any modeling. We dug with excavators down 20 feet. We had borings done down 60 feet. We didn't get any modeling that would
Well,
show it.
modeling would only occur if it
Only modeling would
was
occur if the
slow,
water were hung up
not
and
if
it was slow.
fast. It was hung up, right?
Right. If it slowed down and it perched, then that's when you'd see lateral movement.
And is this discussed in your land disturbance permit application? Because I don't remember.
I doubt it.
Nor why you can't address any of A5. Other than, well, obviously the infiltration basin, I think. I don't know if you have vegetative swale or any of the other items that are included in this A5. So, I think that the applicant should address A5 and should address somewhat their findings that there's, with the removal of all the material, that it's not gonna be, they can find anything that would be concerning for a significant hydrologic change to the groundwater or the surface water, because we do include the groundwater in the stormwater erosion control bylaw.
But if we're not interrupting or disturbing groundwater, we're not impacting it.
So can you
We'll just put it,
tell us why you're saying that you're not, and,
Yep.
and give us some reasonings in writing? That, I think that's just helpful. So the phasing, you say you think the phasing is gonna change?
slightly.
I think that, with the erosion control stormwater bylaw, we don't want a whole site to be completely denuded of vegetation and soil for periods of time, because that can cause issues even when the soil's.
No, and that was
Well.
we're gonna change the phase. We had 3 phases, I think you saw that.
Yes, but I wasn't sure if they overlapped. It could be we're starting phase 1, and once we're done with phase 1, we're starting phase 2, and then you could have 3 phases going at once and a completely nude
Well,
site.
phase,
So
we wouldn't have moved,
I think you need to
yeah.
explain that a little better.
Well, the way the phases, I think it was explained in the phase plan, how it was gonna operate. We were gonna do phase 1, which was the back, prep it, build the houses, then come in and do phase 2, and then
That
phase
wasn't
3, and
clear.
work our way out. That was in the phasing plan.
That wasn't clear, that they weren't gonna overlap.
Okay.
So if you could just, once you rework your phasing, if you could, how one phase would be stabilized before moving on to the other site. And then just the coordination between the planning board and the land disturbance permit. You know, if the planning board is approving certain road construction and grading and stormwater, that should be the same as on our plan, even if our plan shows beyond that.
Your plan's gonna be beyond that.
Okay, well, then the portion that's being approved by the planning board should be on the plan and then beyond that on our plan. Shouldn't be different, because how do you do that?
Well, there's,
Shouldn't be
you
different
want to see
grading.
full development of the lots. They're not looking at the lot development. You are, as a commission.
Right, so we're getting more information, but it should be including the planning board information.
Do you want two sets of grading plans, is what you're saying? That's what, well, that's effectively what
You're
you have to
saying that you're
do.
having the planning board approve, you're putting in the road and you're doing certain grades,
Yeah,
but then those grades are gonna change?
yeah. Absolutely.
Then wouldn't you have to go back to the planning board?
No. They don't look at the lot construction. They only look at what's required to put the road in. That's what we've been
Right, and they're gonna
told.
say that's what you have to do.
That's only their approval. That's not that's not all we are required or allowed to do. We're allowed to develop the lots beyond that. But that's not part of the planning board
I
approval.
understand that. Let's see, how can I put this? So, if you're doing the road construction, and you have grades along the road.
Yeah? That's
are
gonna
those-
be phase
Are those
one.
gonna be, are those gonna be different when you do the lot construction?
Yes.
Then wouldn't you have to go back to the planning board
For what?
for the change of the grades that they approved along the road?
They're only approving what's required for the road. They don't have any jurisdiction outside the layout.
Okay, layout, then. The layout that the planning board is approving for the road should be the same for the land disturbance permit.
It's not.
That's the point. Well, should we?
It's not. They're two separate permits. We're coming to you to develop
I
the
understand.
entire site.
I
They're only approving the grading for the road. There's gonna be so much more grading from what they're approving.
More.
Right.
I'm talking about different. I'm not talking about more. I'm talking about different.
It is
Because
different.
my understanding with the planning board, once they approve something, if you if you want to change that plan, that you have to go
They,
back to that.
if we change, you don't understand it
That's right.
properly, I'm sorry.
You're doing a plan for the planning board that shows the roadway and the
Correct.
grading. And now you're saying that it's gonna change that the grading for the roadway will change.
No, the grading for the lots will change.
Okay, then that's what
The more.
you're not being clear about.
So the roadway gets graded for what's required to do side slopes at 3-to-1 and cut the road in. That's the planning board's purview. That's all they're approving.
Okay,
When we go in and build that, and we get that completed and stabilized, now we're gonna build the lots. And we're gonna take all the lots down, and we're gonna build that berm in the back along the Sportsman's
But you're
Club.
going to meet the grades of.
We're gonna meet the grade of the road.
Layout that was approved by the planning board.
Yeah, the layout, but that's,
That's all I'm saying.
those grades are on the plan.
That's all I'm saying.
Those grades are on that plan. All the roadway
That's what I'm
grades
trying to
with.
clarify.
Okay, so the roadway grades that are in the layout are exactly the same as what you're approving. It's the grading on the lots that's different.
Right, so the layout.
It's
for both
exactly the
boards is
same.
That's all I was trying to
Okay,
confirm.
misunderstanding then. So the layout, the grading, the profiles of the road are all the same. The only difference is we're showing you the grading for the lots that the planning board's not approving.
okay. Anything else, ladies?
I think that's it for now.
Okay. Dean?
Yeah, so you didn't hit, Commissioner, I can ask any question regarding any phase?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ask us.
Yeah, so you didn't hit any bedrock in your drilling?
No, it's all sand, gravel.
What tooling did you use? What was your drill rig?
What was the drill rig, John? What did he use? It wasn't a drill. Wasn't it banged down?
We did a dry drill and then we did a wet drill. We banged first initially and then we couldn't get deep enough, so we went back and drilled using water.
Okay, so you did drive and wash.
Dry and wash, yes.
Okay. Now, the basin and the berms in the north there, does that outfall to the river at all?
The whole thing recharges. Nothing outflows for the 100-year storm. The entire 100-year storm gets recharged back in the ground.
Okay,
There's only a spillway
okay. So it'd have to be as severe.
first, and it's like, the spillway's higher than the, I want to say it's a couple feet higher than the 100-year storm.
Now, the basin, is that a different elevation than the kettle hole that's kind of, or the depression in the area? The north, I'm talking about the northern west, closest to the river.
This one here,
Yeah, now, is that elevation?
this is deeper than that.
Yeah, no, that there, though, is that closer to the elevation of the river than it is now?
Oh, no, this drops down some 30 feet. This is still, so this grade here is at, the cul-de-sac in this area is like 170. And the river at the bottom of the
The
wetlands,
tributary, right? Where
yeah.
the stop
So it's,
is up
this
the
is
left.
like down around 130. So even after the development's built, we're still 30, 40 feet above the wetland, the edge of the wetlands for the river.
A third of the whole water retention system, correct?
That's a quarter.
1/4?
There's one there, there's 4 systems. Actually, that's probably a third. That's the larger one. That's probably a third. So that will recharge the area.
Now, during the gravel event, are you guys gonna be doing any processing of soil screening, processing of any material, once you take the grade down?
The only screening that we'll do is for the loam and subsoil, process that on site and stockpile it for when we go back and do the lots, so we can use it on site. The gravel itself will just be hauled out as it is.
Okay, so no screening,
There's not gonna be any like,
washing? screening,
no,
or-
we're not gonna do any washing of gravel or processing,
Gonna truck it off as clean.
yeah. The only, that's okay, so the only screening would be for like the loam and subsoil, and we'll have a stockpile. So all the stockpiling is up on lots 1, 2, and 3 for the loom piles and the staging area of the trucks and all that when they park at the end of the day.
Now, is that in your SWIP?
That's in there.
No other questions for me?
Bailey?
Curious, why private sewers versus hooked into the town?
There's no sewer around the area.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a mile away or something.
Thank you. No more
We
questions?
would if we could.
Thank you.
Okay.
Kind of on that same subject, I'm looking on page 10, lot number 14. The proposed septic field for that lot is within, it's inside of the 200-foot outer riparian zone.
Yeah, I've revised that since, and I'll give you a revised plan of that. We'll pull that out.
Yeah, it looked like it
I think
could be
that was, it
moved.
shouldn't have been there. That was a mistake. I'm sorry.
All right.
I saw that. I picked that up. It's just, and those are all hypothetical at this point in time, because, we haven't tested for the septic systems, and we won't do that till the lots are graded to some extent, so we can dig a hole and get down 15 feet and do a perk test.
Okay.
May I ask a question out of turn? Now, are you going to you're gonna re-perk it once you take it down?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Anything else, Doug?
For now, that's it.
All right, so I have 3 major points to make, maybe comments to. One is that with 600,000 yards of gravel coming up, this is essentially a commercial gravel operation until it becomes a development. And I don't think this town has permitted one of those in decades. We have extant ones, we have ones that have been going on for decades, but back in the 60s and 70s, a lot of towns had a gravel committee. This town may have had one too, I don't know, I'm not from this town, but back in the 60s and 70s, there were so many gravel operations going online that they would have to have a gravel committee. We don't have a gravel committee anymore. We have kind of like us.
We have a bylaw.
We have a bylaw, but then we have the citizens that are trying to uphold the bylaw. So I want to suggest that even though planning already had a consultant in, I think we need a consultant in for what is essentially our first commercial gravel operation that we've seen in a long time. Maybe Al's seen one in Norwood, I don't know. But maybe not, because they're kind of unusual. There are ones that are being worked and worked and worked right now. Currently, we see them, we can drive by. But I feel that I would like us to have an outside consultant to answer some questions, some of which Landis brought up. Landis said, how's the change in topography going to affect the drainage? And you're being reassuring, you're saying, okay, it's not gonna affect the drainage, don't worry, we got it under control. I'd like a second opinion. How about the permeability of all that gravel? Well, sure, it's permeable right now, but then where is it? I wanna have an outside consultant who knows something about commercial gravel operations to help us with this, because we don't have a gravel committee, and we're just the Conservation Commission, and here it is on our plate. 7,000 yards of gravel is a lot. It's 24 acres of a gravel operation that currently, right now, is being drained by 2 or 3 natural kettle holes, because this is an old esker that was dumped here by the glacier 20,000 years ago. And at that time, these kettle holes are what did the drainage. I feel like I'm out of my league, but I also feel like I'm within my right to say I want an outside consultant.
So can I make a
answer these
recommendation to that?
questions. What?
Can I make a recommendation to that?
Sure.
So the planning board had the same feeling. They hired Beta Group just to review the gravel removal operation. So would you look at the review that Beta did?
Not necessarily, because planning, as you've already.
No,
pointed
that's
out-
not why they had him do it, not planning. The town engineer was reviewing the drainage, the roadways and that. They hired Beta separately because they felt the same as you, that this was a large gravel removal, and it wasn't going before the ZBA for a special permit, and they wanted someone else to look at it from a gravel removal standpoint, so they hired Beta to look at it from a gravel removal standpoint.
Okay.
Not to look at, and he looked at the groundwaters, he looked at all of that, it's in his report.
So I'm gonna hold off saying anything, because first of all, I'm not Landis, I'm just Betsy. So let's hold off on that and just say, right now, I'm thinking that we need Beta to come back and answer our particular questions. Maybe they already have, but Landis needs to determine that. So no, I'm not saying like, oh, we don't need to have a consultant. I'm saying we have very particular questions that have to do with taking everything off of a 24-acre site that maybe planning board didn't have, because as you pointed out many times, planning board only has this little tiny purview about the roads.
Why don't we look at, get a review of that report, and then we can take
I'd
this
like
up
to.
if it needs to be
All right.
further addressed.
And the second point I wanted to make,
You have a copy of that?
I could get it for you. My file's about this wide underneath me here, I could probably dig for it, but
Well, yeah, that would have been great to have included in your land disturbance permit.
I don't
or even
think-
to read aloud from it. I mean, it's sort of like if you're trying to prove to the Conservation Commission that they should permit a commercial gravel operation, just reading aloud from this wonderful Beta report that says everything's gonna be fine would have been.
I will get you copies of it.
useful.
If you, I can get a copy. I have a copy, I just don't have it handy right this second to hand to you or read from.
Anything else, Betsy?
Yeah, I have 2 more points. The second one is that, as Landis pointed out, Section A5, our stormwater and erosion bylaws, does say that we are within our rights, unlike planning board, to say that best management practices are to have as low an impact development as you can. And this is pretty heavy-duty, high-impact. We do have developments in town. Think of East Walpole with the road going, what's the name of that road that goes by the humble pie? Whatever it is. Switchbacking up to the top of the hills so that it overlooks. So you can have developments up on gravel eskers. It's done all the time. It's not like someone says, no, you can't, you have a gravel esker here, I'm sorry, you gotta take it down to the ground before you. There are plenty of examples of beautiful developments that go up on hills, you simply do a switchback kind of a road to do it. So I think an alternative analysis that leaves out the commercial gravel operation, because ultimately what you're trying to do is put 24 houses in, and we wouldn't want to, knock that down to 22 or 20 or something, but, so, see what kind of alternative can be done that's lower impact, that still gives you your 24 houses. All over town we have them. And then the third thing is, and I guess I'm going to be the only person that ever brings this up. So one of my hobbies is deed research. I do it because I'm a member of the Historical Society, so I think it's fun to do deed research. So I guess I'm the only one that's going to say that a 1956 deed that predates conservation commissions. When was the first conservation commission? 1960s, right, Al? Because you were on it, I think.
Yeah,
All right,
probably.
all right, that predates conservation commissions. Has a very unusual stipulation in it. You don't see this very often in deeds. And by the way, my father's a land surveyor and still has a land surveying business, and I've worked in the land surveying business. So I actually have some experience with looking at deeds and thinking about what deeds mean. This is a very unusual clause in this deed. It says, in further consideration of the within conveyance, the grantees, their heirs and assigns agree that no portion of said premises shall be used for a commercial gravel pit, so-called, for the sale of gravel and stone. So I put some thought into where these people could be coming from on this. So I did a little historical research, like who are these people putting this clause in? Because nobody puts these clauses in. It turns out that a doctor and his wife had a summer place, they'd come down from Boston, had a summer place up on the hill back in toward the Sportsman Club too. I think one of the Sportsman Club buildings might even be a remnant of something or other. They died. This is their heirs. There was no conservation commission in those days, but right next door was Powder House Hill, former Powder House Hill. Powder House Hill is now completely flat, it's Swan Pond. But it was a beautiful high hill overlooking the entire town that was taken down over the course of about 50 years. And I think they looked over at Powder House Hill and said, wow, we know we're sitting on an esker, we don't want that. How can we write it in? They're like, well, there's no such thing as a conservation commission, there's nothing in 1956. They said, look, can we just say we don't want that? So they did, they put it in. Now, I've been told pretty clearly that we're not the people that directly deal with this deed restriction. We're just the Conservation Commission. But I have a question that I'd like to ask Town Council, a two-part question, Jack. One is, what is the liability of the town and the Conservation Commission to knowingly ignore a deed restriction and to permit a commercial gravel operation? I just want to hear Town Council go, oh, don't worry, you're not liable, it's just a deed restriction, no big deal. But I want to hear Town Council say, what's the liability to the town and to the Conservation Commission? And secondly, I wouldn't mind also, since I think I'm the only one who's calling it a commercial gravel operation, if Town Council has a definition for that, because we seem to have stepped over some sort of a line from site preparation to commercial gravel operation. Site preparation is one thing, commercial gravel operation is another thing. So I would like Town Council to give us a ruling on that, considering that we have a deed restriction that says no commercial gravel operations. But that could have all be solved by going back to my point number 2 of just having a lower impact way of putting 24 houses on. So that's it for me for the moment. That's it for now.
Al?
When I look at these plans, and to build a road, you have to do some removal of material. And in order to put the drainage system for the roads, you have to build these basins. And you're going to have all this material. Why isn't it going to be used to create this 14-foot berm on the Sportsman's border? And why isn't there any erosion control shown along that border where all this construction is going to take place? I don't see anything there. The other thing that bothers me is, in this day and age, we're facing this global warming thing. And by clear-cutting this entire parcel, you're creating a heat island instead of a cool island. And that's one of the things that is being discussed all the time, is planting more trees. And here we're removing thousands of trees to create a heat island. And it probably takes 20 years of planting trees and shrubs before you gain anything back on a subdivision. So I'm a little concerned about this clear cut the whole place to make it meet somebody's requirements of leveling the site out. I'm not going to get into the business of the deed restriction, but I certainly would like to see somebody explain that it doesn't matter nowadays, that deed restrictions don't count. Okay, so those are things that are on my mind. I understand you want to make the roadway, and that would be the first part of this project. But along with making the roadway, you have to supply the drainage from the road, and that makes these basins part of the project. And land disturbance permit, one of the main parts of it is to make sure that while you're doing that, you're not affecting the abutting properties with all kinds of erosion. So even though we've heard people claim that stormwater soaks into the ground so fast that it isn't a problem, well, we've been facing that explanation on another property where the initial statements were the water just disappears. Well, if it reaches a certain amount, does it still disappear? In the case we're dealing with on another lot, it doesn't disappear. It washed across an abutting property. Okay, so these are things that we have to look at, and I don't see any erosion control anywhere on this site. So that's all I've got at the moment.
Thank you. Continue along those lines. After you clear, you're going to clear the whole property in either phases or altogether?
Phases.
Phases. What are you doing to stabilize that once it's cleared? You're going to be down, removing all your vegetation, topsoil, taking out sand and gravel. What are you going to do to stabilize?
So the roadway's gonna get cut in, the side slopes will be created, so we'll stabilize those with lumen seed, with temporary seeding, to stabilize it. And then as we start to build the lots and we create those, they'll get built out, loomed and seeded with lawns, et cetera, vegetation, trees, what have you.
So you're going to have a section, basically clear cut and gravel removed, so it's going to be open at
And we're
that
gonna
point.
cut for the roadways.
Then you put the roadway, okay.
And
So
we're
you
gonna
still
build it,
have,
and we're gonna cut that in, and then we'll probably prep, 4 or 5 lots in the back, whatever, John and I will review it. We'll prep, those will get cut, they'll pull all that material, shape those up, start building the berms where they need to be built, and then as those houses are built and finished and graded, and they'll come back to the next section, they'll just keep working their way out towards Lincoln Street. So,
you've got a large area that's going to be basically unstable.
there's
There's
gonna
no,
be,
there's no,
you're gonna clear for the
vegetation,
roadway,
no.
that's a pretty good size area, yeah.
just something you need to address is how that's going to be maintained for whatever period of time it takes to build out the lots without just having,
We're gonna, yes, we'll stabilize the slopes, we'll lumen seed them.
okay. One other issue with that is you remove all that, was it almost 700,000 yards?
600,000, right?
600,000 yards of gravel. That amount of sand and gravel stores a fair amount of water as it comes down. I know it doesn't, your water table is below that, but you're still storing water at that, so you're removing that. Where is this water gonna go that you had, that was stored in this sand and gravel?
When you say what's stored in it, you mean because of the moisture content of
Yeah.
the soil?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't just flow through instantaneously.
I mean, if the soils are damp or moisture content's in there, then it's gonna be loaded on the truck with that moisture content.
Well, yeah, I know, so that's gone. What happens with all that volume that you've removed that is no longer there to store water?
It's, what do you mean? I'm not
We've
following.
you've reduced the volume by by 600,000 plus yards of sand and
Correct.
gravel. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So that 600,000 yards of gravel would be storing a certain amount of water when we get heavy rains. So now you have removed that, it's gonna go into what is left. How have you addressed that as far as the runoff is concerned and where it's gonna go
Yeah,
with
you're not,
respect?
that water's not traveling 40 feet through the soil, 60 feet through the soil and saturating that entire zone. That doesn't take place.
Well, what is going, you're removing a huge volume,
We're removing volume of earth,
the
correct.
same amount of water on top whenever we get a
But
rainstorm.
it's still gonna go back into the soil below and infiltrate into the ground.
And at what rate? My
The same
point
rate
is,
it's infiltrating today, it's the same soil
but you
below.
removed a lot, so you've got less
That's not-
volume to absorb
The
that.
volume still, it's just surface area, it's going into the surface over the same amount of area, whether it's areas here or the areas here, it's the same amount of surface area.
And it's the same travel time? How can that be?
No.
It's just, it's infiltrating back in the ground, it's
I know,
going back in the
I know
ground.
it is.
But the
That's my
travel time
point.
is different.
Doesn't work like
Does it
that.
change the rate at which it is now, which you have now, because you have so much more volume to store that?
It's not, that's not how we calculate it.
I don't care how you calculate, I'm telling you, where does it go? And are you accounting
The
for
water
that?
that lands on the surface today will continue to land on the surface when the gravel's removed,
Right.
and it will infiltrate into the soil below. That's what's gonna happen to it.
Okay. So you.
It doesn't change the effects of that. It's still gonna infiltrate into the soil.
I know that. But you've lost
So-
a huge amount of volume that was holding that. Oh. One other question. You have a parcel A on the easterly side?
Correct.
What's the significance of that?
There's some negotiations going on with the abutting property to the rear, the Walton Sportsman's Club, so parcel A is just, right now, is not to be considered a buildable lot. And this, if the negotiations go through it, in time, it may become part of their property. But at this time, there's no agreement in place for such thing to happen.
Okay. Okay, anyone in the audience have any questions or comments, please identify yourself for the record. Yes.
I guess I'm not Kim Williams.
And you have to come up to the microphone, otherwise no one can hear you in the recording.
Yeah, sit down, please. I'm Kim Williams, and I live on Deerfield Drive. And-
One more time, sorry.
Can you, why
What's
don't
your
you take your
address?
mask
Yeah,
off so
wait.
we can
Sorry.
hear? Go ahead.
Kim Williams, and I live on Deerfield Drive. So, I feel that this is more of a, and I think this was said at a meeting, more of a gravel operation than a housing development project. And as an abutter of it, we will feel the impact. They basically, all of the hills that are around us, that give us privacy and have our natural habitat with animals, we have deer and all kinds of things, is just gonna be leveled. And I just feel that's unnecessary, because, you know, we have Symphony Park and other neighborhoods in Walpole that do have elevation and things like that. And I know that they need to go through, or they said that they need to go through Deerfield Drive, but that is a very big hill. And, you know, I'm just wondering why they feel that they have to go through that hill, through there. There are other ways to do it and without impacting the whole area, the whole neighborhood. So I think that there, you know, if there were alternatives, I'm not in, you know, opposition to there being a development back there, but I feel that there could have been alternatives so that we wouldn't have a entire hill be leveled. So, that's kind of thing. I also have a question. Who is the owner of the property? That hasn't been really clear to us, and I think that the permit has to be given to the owner, and I'm not sure who that owner is.
Is it still a Civita?
There's two owners, distributor and John Hatfield.
So, and I don't know if it's outside the scope of this committee, but one of the things that I'm also concerned about, just as a citizen of Walpole, is that, you know, these houses are going to be built right on top, you know, just right, very near to this gun club. And I know we live there, and we hear guns all day long and into the night. But we have the hill to kind of buffer that sound. They will not. I mean, they might have the berms, but, and so, in speaking to the chief of police, he was very concerned about the number of calls that are going to be going to them to come about noise complaints and things like that.
That's
And-
not a conservation
Yeah, I know.
issue, a
I
land
just-
disturbance issue, so,
That's,
I
For
don't, I
somebody
guess, to the police department for them to bring it up to whatever board is hearing
Okay.
it, so.
and the last thing I just want to mention is that there's an enormous amount of, obviously, sand and gravel that's going to be going down these roads. And, you know, we're just concerned they're very narrow. You know, it's just a very dangerous situation, honestly. So we're really concerned about driving down that road with that number of trucks going down there.
Okay, that again would be, I think with you, the planning board, is zoning involved in this? Not in this hearing, so
Well, then, no.
that's not, again, that's not a conservation issue. So,
Okay.
but thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
I just have a couple of questions. I'm Ida Medalia. I'm also a resident. I live on Lincoln Road. I have a couple of questions for the developer.
Can you just state your name and address again in the microphone, in the?
Eden Medalia, Lincoln Road.
Oh, our board secretary is at home taking minutes, so that's one reason why I'm asking to make sure.
I'm
so
usually
she
very
can
loud.
hear
I have
it.
5 brothers, so I could talk very loud, believe me. So, you know, some of my concerns.
Well, you need to
speak.
address the microphone.
You know some of my concerns, particularly around the gravel removal. This really does sound like a commercial grade gravel removal operation. I'd like to know why this isn't in front of the zoning board. I'm surprised that it's not in front of the zoning board. I also don't even know this is the proper use of rurally zoned land, which is primarily for
Excuse me.
agriculture.
You should adjust her.
You need to address it. We can't understand hear what you're saying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Speak
So
into the
I'm just
microphone.
talking to here and then, okay. I'm talking to you, but I'll look at you guys.
Address the commission and then.
And
the
then,
chair
okay.
can
Is there any
Ask them to
further
So
respond.
actually, let me back up for a second. Who is responsible to look at the plans as a whole? I find this very surprising that the planning board is looking at a very small piece, just putting in the road. You guys are being tasked with looking at the whole plan, the plans as a whole, but you don't even know what those are gonna be, because they might be changing as they move along. Who is it that, in Walpole, that actually does look at the entire impact of the subdivision?
Different requirements go before different boards, so that's, and this one is not a zoning issue, so it doesn't go before the zoning board.
But it makes it difficult for you guys to do your job in understanding the whole impact of this
It's
development.
reviewed, yeah, we get comments from the town engineer.
Okay, so there is a review of to make sure, of the whole impact and the drainage, et cetera, and the stormwater as well. So when I look at the planning board subdivision policies, or whatever it is, rules and regulations, part of that is your purview, because I thought it was all the planning board, because within the planning board, there are very clear outlines as to, you know, primary local road requirements, widths, there's also drainage requirements, there's stormwater requirements, but all as a whole. So I guess I'm confused
It's
on.
a separate
on-
bylaw.
Okay,
Subdivision control regulations are state regulations. They're over here. Town has a separate bylaw, stormwater erosion control bylaw, local bylaw over here. They overlap some, but 2 different permits, 2 different boards.
okay. And then the commercial gravel operation, would be the zoning board?
I don't know. Can't answer that. Again, it's not,
Well, I'm going to try to answer that. That gets to why I wanted to ask town council the two questions I had. One is, what is the definition, legal definition of a commercial gravel operation? I hope we will ask town council that. And the second is, do we just not care about deed restrictions? I don't, and maybe the answer is yeah. Maybe it has to be like a private lawsuit or something for, over a deed restriction. Maybe it's just not what town commissions and committees do. But I want to hear it from town council.
No, I'm actually glad you brought it up, because I actually was going to say that as well. Maybe this is all a moot point, because I too researched the deed. I pulled up the original deed from 530, from the Licivitas, and then found the same deed that you have as well, where it does clearly state that. My hope was that maybe this is all a moot point, because if you can't do the gravel removal operation, what I really do think that this is, I don't think this is about putting in subdivision. My other concern is going to be, what if they leave the land, if they, take the land for everything it has, strip it of its trees, remove all the gravel, do their commercial resale, and then we're left with what's on Renmar Ave, which is just cleared out land again. And then what does that happen? So are there things that can be put in place to make sure that this does go through? I also question if this is even a good investment for the Walsh Brother construction, because you are putting in lots right next to a gun club, and I don't know how desirable that would be for people as well. So I would just ask them to consider that, if that's also something that they think is a good financial investment. But this will impact me as an immediate neighbor. I have significant concerns on really the gravel removal part, and then similar to what my neighbor Kim had said, the trickle-down effect to the agriculture in the area. There's farms, et cetera, that are around there. It is a very windy road, and I would want to see things in place for that. And I will look more into the erosion control bylaws, so that maybe I can actually have some tangible things next time.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions or comments? Okay.
One more question.
Okay.
Sorry. So it's 600,000 of gravel for the road. How much for the lots? I'm out of curiosity, being removed for
I
the
think
lots.
that's the total amount.
I would imagine
That was
that-
just for the roads, I thought. Is the 600,000 just for the road?
You know,
That's total, okay.
So John Walsh stated that 600,000 was total for the site. Thank you.
okay.
Jack, can we decide that we're going to ask those two questions of town council, please?
Yeah, I think Landis made a note.
Okay.
Um,
And we're also
we
going to look
want-
at the beta, we're going to get a hold
yeah,
of the
we'll
beta.
get the- Yeah, we'll get that report. I would think it would be available from the, either town engineer or the planning board also.
But I want to say if it doesn't specifically address
Well,
our
let's see what it
things.
says. At this point, do we want a site visit, or do we want answers to these questions? Some of these questions?
I would like answers to these questions first.
I'd like the beta report.
Okay.
And town council.
If we could, Mr. Chairman, could we get a copy of the questions that would be going out to town council?
Can we decide, like, what the questions might be? I mean, one of them is,
We'll see when we get an answer back from town council. We'll be aware of it.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't see that we're gonna get this done by October 27th and have time to review it. So I would suggest we continue this until, what is it, October or November something?
Our next meeting
November
is
10th.
October 27th.
I don't
and
think we're
then
gonna get all
after
of
that
this
is
answers by then, so I would say
November,
that we continue this until November 10th.
November 10th?
November 10th would be the second.
Oh, sure, she is the 3rd. Already, why do you want the 3rd? November 3rd definitely would not be the second Tuesday, so it's the 10th, yeah.
10th.
We don't have anything scheduled yet for the 10th.
Is there an issue with November 10th?
Just 1 minute, Mr. Chairman, if you would. I'll actually be away that week. I'm out of town, so. No, I can't. I gotta
So
do a
put it to
phasing plan.
December.
Can't do that. That's all. It's gonna change, because I gotta show the road, different phases. I gotta create one. No. You submit by the 27th, be on the 10th. Yeah, I just won't be present, that's all. Someone else will be present, but.
As long as the answers are present.
Who will be present? Rob, who will be present?
Well,
Well, John Walsh will be here, and he'll probably bring his attorney.
But if we have engineering kind of questions,
well, if we don't still have questions.
If you want, we'll
just
come
have
on
to
the
continue.
27th, but that's not gonna give you, like, advanced time, like 2 weeks to review anything we submit.
no, I was saying
I
come
don't think we're
December.
gonna have answers.
We don't
to
wanna
get things
delay that
back
long.
And get that in 2 weeks. So, the next meeting would be the 10th.
Okay.
Is that all right with the applicant?
I'm sorry,
The 10th.
The 10th, November 10th?
November 10th, but Rob, you can't be here.
I won't be here.
So the question was, can we submit some of this information and discuss it at the next meeting? And then as far as your questions regarding a residential subdivision versus a commercial gravel removal,
Can you come up and, sorry, it's,
Hey.
thank you.
Where's the agenda? The 27th,
Just maybe introduce yourself.
So I
for the
get,
record.
hi, I'm John Walsh, of Walsh Brothers Building Company. I guess my question is, can we come to the next meeting and answer some of these questions? Are pretty straightforward. We can give the beta review. We could give the updated comments from the town engineer. We could give a phasing plan and,
all right.
and maybe knock all that out. And in the meantime, if you want to send a letter to town council for a definition of a commercial,
All right, if we can.
and I could bring
clear
my
out the
attorney
flats.
to talk about that.
I'm just, if we have answers back, that's fine. I'm just anticipating that we may not get an answer back within.
From town council?
Yes.
No, but I guess my question is,
If
can
we
we
do,
come,
we can.
can we come at the next
continue-
meeting and do what we can?
We can continue this until October 27th. We have a 7 PM.
Oh, that's good, first thing.
No, we
don't.
haven't.
Don't, how's, no.
We have a 7 PM. Do we have anything else? That's all I
Yeah,
have listed.
yes, we have a 7 ANRAD, we have a 7:15 stormwater erosion drill bylaw regulations, and we have a 7:20 smaller addition project.
So we have, so we make it at 7:30? Will that fit?
Yeah.
Okay.
7:30? Is that all right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so someone make that a motion to continue this hearing till 7:30 on October 27th.
I'll move that.
Give a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Abstain, 600. Okay, so it's 7:30 on October 27th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, I think we're on this little guy.
Tesla.
Yeah.
Which is funny, because there are no Teslas. They're not using the flash anymore. They're not in the car. Good time to do it.
Seriously.
This is Union Street.
There's more? We can share. Thank you.
Do we have another?
Landry's bicycle. They took the place of Peter.
Property
Yeah.
all the time, I'm always curious. No, I know.
It's a big parking lot that's behind your donut shop.
Town of Walpole notice of intent. Conservation Commission public hearing. In accordance with Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw, notice hereby giving the intent of Tesla Inc. to install a sewer and utility connection from the existing building at 295 Union Street to existing sewer and utilities in Walpole, Mass. Plans for the land disturbance permit and notice of intent are on file at the Conservation Commission office. Public hearing on the above matter will be held at Walpole Town Hall, 135 School Street, October 13th, 2021, beginning 7:45 PM. All interested persons requested to be present. Contact Conservation 508-660-7253 with questions. Time is now 8:24. Okay, representing the applicant.
Hi,
Identify yourself for the record, please.
Mike Yentel, Kimley Horn.
Speak into the microphone, thank you.
Mike Yentel, Kimley Horn.
Go ahead.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Mike Yentel. I'm with Kimley Horn. We're the civil engineering consultant for the project, representing the applicant, Tesla. Fabiola Lozoya, unfortunately, is unable to attend this evening, and the property owner, Tim McCarthy, with Transit Realty, unfortunately, is also unable to attend. In terms of the overall scope of the project, the applicant proposes to operate an electric automobile pre-delivery center within a portion of the existing building located at 295 Union Street, map 21, parcel 13. The proposed approximate 10,000 square foot tenant fit-out will include minor interior partition build-out of, excuse me, and interior finishes, new lighting fixtures in the service area, upgraded electrical and internet service, power upgrades, including a new pad-mounted transformer, some interior plumbing improvements, including floor drains and an oil water separator, minor ventilation and fire suppression system improvements. The facility will also be equipped with charging stations, 10 wall connectors. Operationally, the facility will provide two major functions, the pre-delivery operations and minor vehicle refinishing. Pre-delivery operations include vehicle inspections, car washing, and overall prep for vehicle delivery. Minor refinishing includes removal, minor painting, and replacement of bolt-on parts, as well as buffing vehicles. This location will support the the Denham Service Center in Boston metro area. Location, worth noting, is not a customer-facing facility. It's intended for employees only, and it's projected to have about 13 employees. Business hours standard Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's important to note that all services are to be performed and contained within the new tenant space. In terms of the site scope, that's anticipated to support the project, the scope will generally consist of striping 2 new accessible parking stalls at the Tesla entrance located at the southwest corner of the building, installation of a new transformer to be located near the northeast corner of the building, and installation of a new building sewer lateral extending from the northwest corner of the building to the existing public main in Union Street. as it relates to existing resource areas and specific work within associated buffer zones. And delineation flagging was performed in February 2021 by Karen Skinner-Catrone. Resource areas are located in the northwest corner of the property, which have been identified by the wetland scientists as Trapple Brook, which is a perennial stream.
I have a question. So we have a big plan and a small one, but is the parking lot actually shown on this?
The existing parking lot is south of the building, outside of any resource area.
Where's the building?
So everything that you're talking about,
Building is,
Wait, let him finish, and then we'll go through
well, I
and
want to
get
make
the
sure I'm on the
corrections.
right page, but,
yeah, it's on the first page here. Can I approach the?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's right here.
Yes. So a portion that Tesla is proposing to fit out.
Hey, you can't just stand there because it won't be recorded, no one will be able to hear it. So if you could just clarify what the notice of intent is for
Absolutely.
the sewer connection.
Absolutely, that's,
He's discussing a lot of other activity, but the notice of intent is for the sewer connection.
correct. Yeah, I just wanted to give you an idea of what Tesla's
So
proposing.
I think that's why they may be confused, but all the other work is interior.
Interior to the
work.
building, correct. Yep. Correct. So the specific work, again, within bordering vegetated wetlands, buffer zones, and riverfront area are limited to the installation of a new sewer lateral, which is approximately 440 linear feet, which is shown in the notice of intent exhibit. And disturbances within each zone are noted on that sheet contained within the notice of intent. In regards to conformance to the Walpole Wetland Protection Bylaw regulations, site work associated with the new sewer lateral is temporary only. Work involves minor saw cutting, trenching, utility installation, backfill, and asphalt trench patching. The new sewer alignment is located within existing developed paved areas. Therefore, the work zone will not impact existing undisturbed vegetation. The site is not mapped within NHESP priority or estimated habitats or rare wildlife or rare species zones. As highlighted in the stormwater checklist contained in the notice of intent, there will be no new impervious areas proposed as a part of the project. The temporary work will not change existing drainage patterns or increase peak flows. No new drainage or stormwater improvements or conveyance systems are required or proposed as a part of the project. There will be no direct impacts to the adjacent resource areas. There'll be no permanent alterations within regulated buffer zones, and adequate temporary erosion and sediment control, as shown on the permit plans, will be installed and maintained by the contractor. Lastly, we feel that the sewer upgrade is an overall improvement, being that we're converting an on-site sewage disposal system to a closed conduit system tied to the municipal sewer. In terms of dates, the applicant submitted a special permit with the Zoning Board of Appeals to permit the proposed use for this new facility. The initial application was submitted on June 23rd of this year. As a part of the interdepartmental review of the special permit, we received initial comments from the Conservation Commission on July 20th. Subsequent to this, our staff discussed the project scope with the conservation agent, who indicated that a notice of intent filing would be required based on the scope of work. Notice of intent application was prepared and submitted to the town on September 8th. A certified list of abutters was coordinated with the Assessors Department. Certified mailings were received, which you have. A copy was mailed to Mass DEP on September 9th and received on the 13th. To date, we've only received 2 comments from Mass DEP. One relates to the actual RFA multiplier fee calculation, which we've resolved with our updated checks and issued a file number. And the other concern they had is the environmental analyst wanted us to review 310 CMR 10.58, Section 5, C through E, that has to deal with the redevelopment, to which we responded, and staff concurred with the response. Lastly, in regards to the special permit status, the ZBA unanimously approved the project in the last hearing last Wednesday.
Okay. Anything else here?
That's it.
Okay.
But you didn't receive a DEP number yet.
Say that again?
You didn't receive a DEP
Yes.
number yet. Oh,
Yes.
you did, today?
315-1250.
1250?
Yep.
You want me to continue? Okay. So my understanding is you're doing improvements inside the building, but you're not doing improvements other than maybe lines or some minor ones that really don't affect the site outside of the building.
Correct. Yeah, the restriping's outside the riverfront area and the new transformers outside as well.
What falls under the wetlands resource area, which is 200-foot buffer
Yep.
zone, 200-foot riverfront area,
Correct.
which is a resource area, and the 100-foot buffer zone, which is the jurisdictional area, is the sewer
The
line. And one of the reasons why I asked for notice of intent rather than just a request for determination is because it's going over a tributary, a portion of the Trapple Brook. Trapple Brook is a cold water fisheries. It's a really important resource for Walpole and the region. So I just felt that it would be best if the commission could review the connection based on that. I did talk to the town engineer to get an idea of if there was any specific specs that would be best for a sewer that was going over an important stream, so there would be no leakage or breakage or issues. I know that DEP, when a sewer was going along Pickerel Brook, which is just up the road, they wanted cast iron pipe, and it was sort of specific. But what the town engineer told me was that that wouldn't really, the sizing wouldn't be correct for this, for the cast iron pipe. So what he was recommending was that the line should be constructed of 200 PSI polyurethane pipe with no unions. Did you give us specs of what the pipe was gonna be?
We did not, no.
Okay.
We did receive comments from the town engineer in regards to this, and this specifically wasn't brought up, but we did address some of his other concerns that he had.
Right, and
Yes.
after I know he had talked to you about other concerns that he had regarding the turn and stuff like that, so. And then I got those specs from him, and I know there's other commissioners that understand these things better than I do, but that's what the town engineer suggested to prevent leakage once going over Chapel Brook. So I know your engineer isn't here, but do you know the process that is being used for, the pipe is going over the culvert?
It's going over the culvert, yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's not
actually,
going, it's not a,
it's a force main from the building. Once we get over the culvert, we can't go gravity underneath. It would be too low for the system, so we're actually.
you have enough coverage to go over it.
Correct. Yes, and then once we get over the culvert, then we drop into a gravity system that ties into the municipal system.
You're gonna dig the trench,
Yes.
lay the pipe, cover
Correct.
the portion and move on, is
Correct.
section by section?
Correct.
And you'll use a box or something so that the trench doesn't cave in?
Trench box, yes.
And if you have to de-water, if you hit water,
Yes,
yes, you'll set up a dewatering station where either depending on how much water it is, you don't want to just discharge the water to the roadway or the stream or the wetlands. You want it to go
Right.
through a dirt bag or set up a dewatering site. That all can be part of the conditions.
sure.
And then my other question was just, and I think you answered it earlier, is so the trench is gonna be dug, pipe's gonna be laid, it's gonna be filled, and then you're just gonna patch where the trench is?
Patch for the first year, and then we're still working out with the town engineer whether we grind and mill the entire section of street, because
How about the parking area?
not on site, no.
You're not gonna do
No.
any
The town
repaving
engineer was more
whatsoever?
concerned about the Union Street and whether or not
Right,
that
well,
coincides.
I'm concerned, and the commission would be concerned if you're going to be planning on paving the parking lot.
No,
So are you just renting from the trucking company?
yes, that's correct.
Are you gonna park cars there?
Yes,
About how many cars are gonna be parked?
there's 13 employees. As far as how many Tesla vehicles will be stored there, I don't know. Again,
It's just, I know one of my concerns has been, is that parking lot is kind of broken up pavement. The corner by the Trapple Brook has been kind of an area where snow gets pushed. It's sort of the low point. Water just sheets off the paved area and dribbles into the river. Absolutely no stormwater management at all. And I know I've brought this up before to the owners, and that's a problem.
Yeah, the scope of this project, it falls under the threshold of requiring any local or state permit, stormwater permit, so.
But you'll be parking vehicles there.
Yes, but the actual scope of work for the trenching is a linear utility project, doesn't fall under, doesn't trigger a state stormwater permit.
No, I understand that. It's
Right.
just, you're still, maybe in the future, we need to deal with the stormwater issues that are occurring on site. That's all.
Okay. Dean?
Sure. So the forced main, you're going to be installing it. I don't really know a lot about sewer systems, but the structure after it goes forced main, now, is this forced main is in like, it's pressurized?
Yes,
And so it'll depressurize on the other side of the culvert.
correct.
Now, will there be a structure, like a depressurization?
It's a drop structure, yes.
Or is it just goes boom?
So there's a drop outside the manhole structure itself, which flows down to the shelf of the manhole, and gravity's out on the other side.
So you're gonna put a manhole in.
Correct.
What's the size of the manhole?
It's a standard city manhole, 4-foot diameter.
Oh, sir. Now, have you guys inspected this culvert at all?
We have not, no.
Okay, because you're gonna be digging a manhole next to a culvert. Landis, do you know how old that culvert is?
Old.
Yeah, so my concern here is this condition of this culvert. You're gonna be, not only are you going to be digging over, on top of it, which will unload it, which could potentially damage it, you're gonna be installing a manhole adjacent to it, which could damage the culvert, and then you're gonna be vibing and rolling, impacting the soil, so I'd like to see a culvert study or some inspection of the culvert before you guys do the work.
So just to add, that we can provide some information there, because that culvert was the culvert that we just recently did a study on for both the main stem of the Trapple Brook and this tributary as well, so we can give you, but what you could condition is just have a what-if plan. Yeah, what, so, but we can talk about those.
One other thing we can do is that during that phase of the construction, then it'd be supervised by an engineer
Absolutely.
And then
on
kind of
site
know what would
for
happen.
that, completely during that phase of the construction, when you're crossing the brook and you have to construct your manhole?
No,
Is there one there? Is this a new manhole?
It's a new manhole, yes.
All right, so that we would require that to be supervised by an engineer
Sure.
for the crossing of the, I guess, within, what's the scale on this?
1 to 30.
I would think from that, where the thrust block is to the manhole,
Mhm.
that length of the construction.
You know how deep the culvert is underneath the road?
We're going over, I want to say it's about 3 feet of cover, 2.5 to 3 feet of cover.
How deep do you
So it's
get?
pretty shallow, and it's a 24-inch culvert, I believe.
So it's gonna be, you might touch it, you might hit it.
We're going over with a 6-inch sand cushion, as required by the town engineer.
Okay. So wait, you're gonna expose it and then put 6 inches of sand,
Yes.
and you're gonna dig with an excavator?
He'll probably hand dig over there, yeah.
Now, are you guys gonna be doing any outdoor washing?
Not outdoor, no, it's all interior.
Okay, great. And there's no other paving in in our jurisdictional areas?
No.
Okay. No more questions from me.
Bailey?
No questions?
Doug?
Yeah, when you're washing the cars inside, that water is flowing down this drain that you're proposing to put in. The wash water from washing the cars is draining out through this conduit that you're putting in, right?
Yes. Yes, it gets routed through an oil water
What
separator.
happens if you have a power outage and the discharge pump goes down? Where's all this water gonna go?
If there's a power outage, in theory, the car wash wouldn't be utilized.
Okay, so the water that's being used would shut down too?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. And the other question I had was, you have a proposed transformer pad that's inside of the flood zone. Isn't there any other place to put it? Do you have to put it inside the flood zone?
The good majority of the site is mapped Zone A. I think we straddle Zone AO and Zone A, but the base flood elevation in that area is around 96, and the transformer will be set above that.
Oh, it'll be
Yes.
elevated?
Yes.
Okay. And are there oils and,
Yes, we're conditioned by the Zoning Board of Appeals to have a containment basin underneath that transformer in the event of a spillage or a leakage.
okay, good, great, thank you. No other questions.
Betsy?
Nope, no questions.
Al?
On the plan that we're looking at, you have a blue line on each side. What's that indicate?
The blue line is just to represent the work that's within a regulated buffer.
Okay, and where is the erosion control?
The erosion control is shown on either side of Union Street.
It says ECB, it says dash
There's
line.
ECB, and then we have a detail on the second sheet.
Okay, yeah. So now, in the area between the building and this ECB dash line, what's going on in that area right
It's-
there?
it's
Why
a-
isn't that ECB line?
It's a paved
closer-
area.
Closer to the excavation?
It's a paved area. So we're setting a straw wattle and silt fence on the edge of pavement, just before the limit of the wetlands and buffer.
I'm not too impressed with straw wattles. I don't think that's adequate here. In fact, a straw wattle you can move with your foot.
What do you want?
Silt set?
Yeah, silt fence.
They can't put
It's
silt fence
on
on
the detail's on the
pavement.
second page.
But the compost sock,
But the compost, we can put that.
and that's heavy enough to stay there.
So if they're staking it to the ground. Straw wattle.
Anything else, Al?
And as far as along pavement, you know, you can use rebar driven through the pavement. That's not a problem. It's only a problem if the contractor is lazy. So just the fact there's pavement there doesn't mean you can't have erosion control placed on top of it, heavy enough material that'll stay there. So I think this is an important area as part of the wetland and the Trap Hole Brook. There's trout in that brook. That's one of the few areas in eastern Massachusetts that has trout. So we have to look at that very carefully. And are you prepared if you find that the existing culvert is in bad shape and it is cracked and breaking to replace it?
That wasn't specifically addressed with the town engineer, but I'm sure if it's damaged during construction, then yes, we will replace it.
Is that your question, though? You're saying, what if you find it's already broken and cracked?
Yeah, I don't want to wait until it collapses and causes a problem downstream. I want to make sure that you're prepared right away in minutes to replace a section there if what you uncover is not sound. Because my recollection is that's pretty old. And I know that on the other side of it, we've had problems. I want to make sure that that's something that's involved here.
I see you want to change the location of the erosion control?
Well, it would be better if it was closer to the work, not have this big area that could be all muddy water.
Okay, so you want to bring it parallel to the
To the
to
construction,
the construction?
yeah, on both sides of it.
Yeah. So basically, right up from that corner, as it comes around from the brook, come
Yeah, it could hit
parallel up, right up to the building on both sides.
Corner of the building,
All the
yeah,
way up to the building,
Right.
yeah, on both sides,
on both sides.
okay? So you had that?
And was there a response to your other question about being ready in case the culvert is found to be cracked and damaged?
To your point earlier, if you're going to condition the project to have our client inspect the culvert prior to, we'll find out then
Okay.
what condition the pipe is in, and we'll discuss that and disclose that to the town engineer, and we'll,
That's,
whatever the,
that's a step in the right direction.
So, pre-construction review of the culvert stability?
Yeah.
Of the, yeah, okay? Got that? Okay, anything else, Al?
No, that's enough.
Okay. Would you repeat again what was recommended for the pipe over the culvert?
Yep, it's in my report.
It is.
It is polyethylene pipe with no unions and 200 PSI.
Okay. He didn't suggest putting that inside a cast iron pipe, just over the brook as a containment?
He said the size, it was a smaller, I don't know, he said that that's a smaller size than the cast iron pipe.
I think, Jack, if we insist on a bigger pipe, it's gonna reduce his padding, because he has a 6-inch padding over the, I'm not an engineer, I'm not speaking.
yeah, it reduces the coverage. We looked at different pipe materials.
Smaller pipe,
It's a 2-inch force main, it's a smaller pipe.
2-inch force main, right, so that they don't, yeah, but there was, I think what Carl was saying was they don't have a cast iron. The cast iron's not that small.
No, you put it
That's my
inside, you put it inside a 4-inch or 6-inch pipe, just to protect it over that, over the brook.
And Jack, we're gonna put a dewatering plan into the pre-construction. I'd like to see that, especially during construction, because you're going to, when you do the construction, you're gonna shut off one lane at a time. Do you have a traffic management plan yet?
Say that again?
Do you have a traffic management plan yet?
We do not know.
Okay, I'm just curious on your.
On Union Street.
Union Street,
It's down center line,
But what I
so-
did was I gave him
probably
the
have to
specs
det-
that DEP had
that's gonna be challenging.
suggested or put in their order of conditions for the Pickerel Brook, which included a cast iron pipe, and he said the cast iron pipe wouldn't work there, so.
Oh, well,
Not an
no,
engineer.
no, that was for gravity sewer, where you cast iron pipe. But all I'm saying is use a piece of pipe around this just to protect the 2-inch. All right, so this is to be, no unions where? Is that all one continuous length? How long is that?
It's 440 linear feet total, so call half that to get over the culvert.
There's no union, so how long before?
210.
You can have would you get one length of tubing for that? The 400 feet, I don't know if you can get a
I doubt
400-foot
it.
length
I
at
doubt it.
2-inch. He doesn't want a union around the culvert, but you've got to get someplace, you're going to have a union someplace.
Yeah, at the corner where it
Definitely where it
turns.
turns.
Well, with a plastic pipe, you could go around the corner. You don't need a,
I think he had very specific specs for that.
well,
My
all right.
understanding,
leave it as
this
I would just say,
rust
no
block.
union after the thrust block. Wherever there is one, between the building and the thrust block, wherever you need one, but not after the thrust block.
Okay.
All right. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Please identify yourself for the record. Okay. So we'll make a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor, 600. Okay, so for the order,
Who was that Betsy? You were,
I seconded, yeah.
okay. Al and Betsy?
all right? So for the order, we're gonna change the location of the silt control of the comment with respect to the union.
Right, so no union after the thrust
after the
block?
thrust block. And that it be, the whole sewer line would be that 200 PSI polyethylene.
And that the engineer supervision with the crossing?
And engineer supervision of the crossing and the manhole construction. Anything else?
Well, compost sock instead of the wattle.
Yep.
And if the culvert is damaged during construction, it needs to be replaced.
Or previously damaged.
Okay, and then we're gonna have a pre-construction
I wasn't clear on that order, so,
observation of the culvert.
okay.
Pre-construction.
And then what? Anything?
With a report to commission and the town engineer on the structural stability of the culvert. And if any problems are seen, then it will be need a review with the town. Involve more than just us, town engineer, conservation. Okay?
Okay, and then what I was suggesting before is if during construction, the pipe is damaged, and I think Al was discussing this too, he doesn't want it just to be left, but that the commission should be notified, and they should have a contingency plan for if it gets broken, then you know what needs to be fixed and done. So if you could just write up a little description about how the culvert would be replaced if it was damaged during construction.
You have a supervision by an engineer of the,
Yes. Of the culvert crossing and the manhole.
and the manhole, yeah, okay. Anything else?
The dewatering plan.
And the dewatering.
plan.
And was he gonna take the erosion controls to the corner of the building?
The erosion controls to the building, right, yeah.
So usually so these should be all, so we could also just put in a pre-construction meeting prior to construction And usually when that happens, we sit down when I meet the contractor, and then we can go over the dewatering plan, and we can go over where the erosion controls are gonna be placed. We can go over the contingency for if it gets broken, what are you planning on doing?
Sure.
So does that make sense, that those components would be discussed during the pre-construction hearing?
All right, and you'll need to revise your drawing to show the location of the erosion control?
Yes, we will.
Okay. Anything else? All right, so make that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
abstained, 600. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Great, thank you. This is in here. This is Washington Street.
Want to trade?
Sure.
My wife needs a bigger one.
Needed them last week, because that's what I got.
I think these neighbors are gonna get these subdivisions in the middle school.
You ready?
Yeah. Here.
I mean, I've only been to building department, you want more time? I've only been on this commission for like 8 years, and I've seen at least 4.
So you guys have small size plans, but I also have large size plans if you would prefer.
Small's good.
Yeah, I'll go with this.
We're good.
Good, thank you.
No, this is good enough.
Yep.
We have that one.
Like I said, I shouldn't pass this.
Is that the right plan? Yes.
Town of Walpole Land Disturbance Permit, Conservation Commission, public hearing in accordance with Massachusetts Stormwater and Erosion Control Bylaw and regulations. Notice, begin the intent of Anna Nardone and John Paulus to construct an access road and rated appurtenant utilities and stormwater management systems at 585 Washington Street, Walpole, Mass. Plans for the land disturbance permit are on file at Conservation Commission office. Public hearing, the above matter held at Walpole Town Hall, 135 School Street, October 13th, 2021, beginning 8:15 PM. All interested persons requested to be present. Contact Conservation at 508-660-7253. Time is now 8:59. Representing the applicant,
Dan Merrickin with Legacy Engineering. All set?
yep.
All right.
I think, well, do we have anything to read in here? Let's see anything. I don't see anything in here.
You haven't gone to the planning board yet.
No.
So usually we get a town engineer report when they go to the planning board.
Okay. Oh, here it is. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Again, Dan Merrickin with Legacy Engineering, here on behalf of the applicant. I have Kevin and Mary Kelly with me tonight. They're representing the applicant, which is the estate of John LaPaulus. This is a land disturbance permit application. This is not a wetland issue. This is a stormwater and erosion control issue. The property is located at 585 Washington Street, which is down just past the Bird School on the left. There was a house there until a couple of years ago when it burned down and was demolished, so now it's a vacant lot. The applicant's proposing to install a 6-lot, single-family residential subdivision. The property's about 4 acres in size. The stormwater management system here is very straightforward. The topography of the site is such that right here in the middle is a low point for the entire surrounding area. All of our neighbors' runoff comes into our property, goes to the low point, and soaks into the ground. Good quality soils, sands and gravels. So there's really no erosion control issues or significant concerns here because all of the runoff that comes onto the property stays on the property. But we do have a sediment and erosion control plan proposed for the road construction phase and also for the lot construction phase, which involves perimeter controls, We have compost socks in areas where house construction may raise elevations to the point where you'd worry about some sediment discharging off towards the property lines. We have prepared a drainage report with the SWIP, the O&M plan, the TSS calculations, all the things that are normally required. I understand that the town engineer hasn't probably had a chance to review it just yet, but I do expect, we're meeting with the planning board on the 4th of November. I would anticipate we'll get comments from Carl shortly before then. The stormwater management system is straightforward. We have, the road drains down to the low point from both directions. There we have catch basins, a sediment forebay, and a vegetated infiltration basin. The only other stormwater management system on site is out back, and it's really exclusively for the driveway for lot number 5. It's an underground infiltration system. This here is a natural depression. It's not a stormwater management BMP. We're just demonstrating that we're reconfiguring this natural depression in a way that preserves its integrity to contain and infiltrate water into the ground, and that's all demonstrated in the stormwater report. Beyond that, it's pretty straightforward. I will kind of note to you, it's not something that really relates to stormwater management, but our neighbors, the Walshes, are here tonight. This property is a little unique because along the left lot line is a right-of-way that straddles into our lot and the two neighbors to the left. And our two neighbors to the left have a common driveway that runs through this right-of-way down along this property line. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be connecting them over to the new road as part of this project. And we've spoken with both of those neighbors. They've asked for some plan revisions, which we're going to undertake with our first round of revisions after we get comments from the town engineer. One of the things that the Walshes were concerned about was just making sure that their driveway access is maintained throughout construction until the new road is paved to binder and ready for them to drive on it. So we're going to add some information to the plans that outlines that and specifies and requires that of the site contractor. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Landis?
So I went out and walked the site today and looked at your drainage report. And I was trying to look at your watershed report. The water from the backyards of Grace Memorial Drive, do they sheet into this low area?
Yeah, so big picture, what our existing condition calculations demonstrate is that in a 100-year storm, using the updated Atlas 14, of course, flooding in this low area could get up kind of into the neighboring properties in the existing condition. In the proposed condition, we're digging a detention basin, a retention basin that's deeper than the natural depression that's out there today. So we eliminate that condition, and we take all that water and we contain it in our stormwater basin. So there would not be an opportunity where in the largest storms you might have some existing flooding out into adjoining properties. That would go away.
So before the water came from both ends of the site to the low area, not from the abutting property?
Well, yeah, basically, right, in the current condition, this area sheets down into our site.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
And then a good chunk of watershed up through here, because this is all downhill of Washington Street. This all flows down through our neighbors' properties and then ends up crossing their common driveway into our low point, and then it just soaks into the ground. So that's what we're doing with our drainage design. We have to maintain that same
So
pattern.
you'll get overland flow from the abutters into the infiltration basin?
Yeah, the road has been set to a grade that is low enough that it will pick up all the overland flow coming across here,
And from the other side too?
and from the other side too.
Okay, that's what I was wondering about, so that it's not, so the overland flow will go into that low infiltration basin?
Yeah, we're not mounding anything up over there. So what'll happen with these guys is their flow will come along here, it'll hit across the back of here, and then it'll flow across the back into the basin.
Because that's what it looked to me, that property line along Grace Memorial and your property, yeah, straight line up, that there was sort of a little low area there. I mean, there wasn't enough, there was like sweet pepper bush, and there's red maples, and there's looks like there wasn't enough evidence for wetlands, but it looked like there was probably is water there at some point, so
Yeah,
that's what will happen. That's what happens now, and that's what will happen once you're built out, but it'll be directed to the infiltration.
correct. So we're basically digging a deeper hole,
Yeah, I got you.
right? So that the water will absolutely stay in the basin.
So my other question is, it looks like you have the catch basins with deep sumps, but you have no other pre-treatment going into the basin?
Sediment forebay. So we have the two
That's sediment
pre-treatments that
forebay.
get you to the
But
44%.
nothing else in the, no storm tip or anything like that, but that's, yeah, that's
No.
not, that's just a small area, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And this, okay. And then just describe, can you describe it just during construction, so they're gonna go in and strip the site and stockpile the loam?
Yeah, we have. So this is our subdivision phase sediment and erosion control plan. We have perimeter controls, compost socks gonna be along this existing driveway, just to make sure nothing washes into that existing driveway. Also along the east side, just to make sure that nothing gets out into our neighbor's land. So 10-inch compost sock there with an orange snow fence, just to make sure everyone sees and understands that's the limit of work. We have a stockpile area here. We have two temporary sediment basins here on either side. This is all nice soil, so that'll allow them, while they're working on the infiltration basin and working on the road construction, to be able to divert runoff into discrete areas and let it soak into the ground.
And then you have a construction entrance pad.
We do. We have a construction entrance pad here for the full width of the road, which is something that Carl has been requesting lately.
Okay. Dean?
Your erosion control on the back property, that's not gonna interrupt any of the sheet flow coming off these properties during storm events, right? Shouldn't?
No.
Yeah.
The compost sock, no, it's not gonna have any.
So, but I understand, ask my questions.
Yep.
Oh, sewer, it's all sewer, right?
Yeah, yes, we're gonna have a, just like your last hearing, we're gonna have a 2-inch low-pressure sewer main, because we're downhill of the town sewer, so we're gonna pump up to it.
Oh, it'll take all those houses, 2-inch main.
Oh, easily, yeah.
That's incredible. Okay, no more questions.
Bailey?
Your infiltration basin takes up a lot of the lots, like half of them on 2 and 3. Are there any restrictions for the homeowners to use that property for, like, anything, like, other than planting trees and whatnot?
The basin?
Yeah,
So they obviously can't fill in the basin or
Right.
change the grades of the basin. I have seen people mow the basin and treat it like lawn, and it looks nice, and that's something they certainly could do, and they probably will do, because it's right next to their houses.
yeah, I'm just concerned that those lot owners might want to do more with that, given
They're
it's
not
half
gonna
of
be able
their-
to. So
Right,
we're gonna record an O&M restriction that's gonna be referenced on deeds, and it's gonna be recorded with the permits. That's basically gonna mandate that the drainage system stay as is and be maintained, so.
I'm missing trees, I guess. I'm losing a lot of trees this meeting.
Well, they'll certainly be planting trees. I mean, we have street trees shown on the plan per the subdivision regulations, and obviously, every home that comes in here is gonna landscape and plant new trees and shrubs. It's not gonna be barren of trees.
No more questions?
Doug?
I see you have, on the drawing, you show 5 refueling areas.
Yep.
Pardon?
Which drawing are you looking at?
C4?
So that's for the individual lot plans?
Yeah.
So that's just kind of a, an indication that in each lot, the houses may not be built simultaneously. So if you're building the houses one at a time, we're designating an area on each lot where, when that house was under construction, that's where you'd stockpile equipment and refueling and whatnot. If So this subdivision is not going to be developed by the applicant. They're representing an estate. It's going to be permitted and then marketed. So someone's going to buy this subdivision, and in all likelihood, that one person is probably going to build all the houses. So they'll probably build multiple homes simultaneously, and they'll consolidate those areas.
Okay. I've just, maybe this would be in the next phase that you're referring to, but is there spill containment in these refueling areas?
Our SWIP specifies that the contractor needs to have spill cleanup gear on site
Okay,
during construction.
all right, thank you.
Betsy?
Nope, no questions.
Al?
No questions.
One question on who maintains responsibility for the infiltration basins?
The 2 lots that it falls on.
So it's the homeowner's responsibility. There is not a homeowners association?
No. So the planning board's past practice has been making individual lot owners responsible for the maintenance of what is on their property.
Okay. We should make a note in our order that remind the homeowners that they have to maintain the basins as they are constructed.
So, just so you know, I'm gonna be asking for a continuance because we haven't had our first meeting with the planning board and I haven't seen the town engineer's comments. So I'm gonna be looking to continue this to your first meeting in December, just so that gives me an opportunity to get in front of the planning board and then address their comments.
Yeah, and I was gonna recommend that too, because I know the town engineer hasn't had a chance to look at this. And also, I forgot to mention, just, the rear of the property is a pine forest, right? So, again, if, I don't think, I will admit, I didn't read every single one of your notes, because sometimes it's too much.
I don't
but-
believe it, Landis.
But did you address in the stormwater regulations A5, which lists out again, trying to maintain as much of the natural vegetation as possible using low-impact development BMPs in projects?
I can add some notations to that.
Everyone always says we can't do it. But, a lot of communities are moving towards this, and with the stormwater MS4 permit, we're being sort of pushed more and more to design this way, we're trying to keep trees on existing property and not going in and flattening everything and building out and then planting little shade trees. When you do that, you really change an environment, and as Al said, with climate change, we really need as much tree cover as possible. So at this point, if you could just address it and tell us why you can't do any of those low-impact development requirements, and I know sometimes that has to do with the planning board.
Well, we gotta follow for the road construction, we have to follow the subdivision regulations. And we obviously have to follow your stormwater regulations, so that's a big chunk of what's going on out here. But I certainly can add some language about the lots and how the lots are developed and trying to preserve trees that are not, interfering with the house installation. So I can do that.
Great, thank you. You just address that section.
Anything else? Yeah, anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Please identify yourself for the record. Okay, so we'll continue the hearing until December,
Is it 12?
Oh, I don't know.
did you say November or December? You said
December,
right?
please.
December 8th.
Is that it? I can find my phone, so, is that the
December 8th,
December 8th?
yeah.
At 7 p.m.?
7 p.m.
Thanks for your time tonight, I appreciate it.
Okay, someone make that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
600. Okay, thank you.
You guys need to sign this for the
Las Vegas.
Tesla.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything else for this file, goes in this file or not?
I don't think so.
bring extra copies? What?
I have to give you new ones after today anyway. Still there'll be a couple of little changes for you.
Is this the one we just did?
Yep. There.
Should tell them we don't start hearings after 9 o'clock. He had his time before us.
Sorry, it's 3 hours, I get up and walk around. Oh, sorry, thank you.
Gotta move.
Yeah.
Our back's killing you at the end of the day.
What is this? What am I signing here?
I
So
got,
I have
Like
2
what?
plans.
You gotta put
That's
your
it.
social security number down there?
I got an old one.
295 Union Street?
No, this is an old,
I don't
this is
understand.
an OSC.
Oh, thank you. You guys have this?
Oh, gosh. Plan, I told him we need 2 more.
What's that?
These?
Gary, you like
I guess this is correct.
I added all this. I'm gonna show you the parking.
Your driveway.
The driveway
What is this
with
one
the truck
again?
turns on it.
Were you here for all this? I think you missed some meetings.
I watched 3 meetings.
There.
I laughed.
It's the paper roll.
We heard you laughing.
The paper rustles the worst.
Oh, it was hilarious.
Are we ready? Hello, Walpole. A notice of intent, Conservation Commission public hearing in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act and Walpole Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Notice hereby given the intent, Hash Brown Holdings LLC to construct a building and associated outdoor storage at 272-274 South Street, Walpole, Mass. Plans are filed at Conservation Commission office. Public hearing in above matter will be held at Walpole Town Hall, 135 School Street, September 8th, 2021, beginning 7 p.m. All interested person requested to be present. Hearing's been opened and continued. The time is now 9:20. Representing the applicant,
Rob Truax, GLM Engineering, and with me is Ian Brown, the owner of Hash Brown's Holdings LLC.
okay?
So since our last meeting, we did submit at the last meeting the information from Joyce Hastings, that was the alternative analysis information that was also provided to DEP. We did receive a DEP number within a couple days of submitting that information to him. I do make note that within that, there was a comment about an ongoing condition about no further disturbance to the riverfront area that DEP provided in their letter back to you, giving us the file number. I've gone back and forth with some comments with Landis as of last week. I did submit revised plans to you last week, but they were really pertaining to changes for the planning board. We submitted a package to the planning board last week, and I just wanted to make sure that you had the same plans. There weren't any changes per the Conservation Commission. They were more site-type information, parking, layout, aisle drives, things like that. We didn't change any of the drainage system. The only one change that was made that was part of the drainage system was we are going to close off this entrance. On your recent plan, this was going to be the second entrance to the site. We went out and looked at that, and it's really because of sight distance. When you're coming out of here, you can't see around this turn. So we moved it, and we're gonna put the entrance over here in that gravel area, which gives, you know, at least 250 feet in either direction when you're exiting the site, so. And it helped with the comment from the town engineer, because there was a little bit of sloping of the entrance that headed out towards the street, so now that drainage went out to the streets. Now the drainage comes down this way and it gets collected in the catch basin. It was just the entrance itself. So this will get taken out. We're gonna use this for the construction entrance to start the project, because it's a paved entrance, just to bring things in. Things will exit over here, just to give you an idea of what's going on. And then we'll construct this one once we get the foundation and the retaining wall in. So just, you know, and just as an overview of like a scheduling type thing, I think we see this as we'll put the erosion controls in, clear the trees in this area, build a retaining wall, and then start backfilling that as they're digging the foundation. So that way they can get the foundation in, and they can do all this site prep to grade, and then put the drainage system in. And they're not driving all over the drainage system while they're putting the foundation in. And then they'll erect the building. Just as a quick highlight. But yeah, other than that, I mean, Landis, I think, still has some outstanding small comments that we've seen. Her and I went back and forth. Unfortunately, I left for the weekend. Didn't get back to her anymore. I was traveling. I'm traveling. So with that, I think I'll let you guys ask questions, and we're here to answer whatever you have.
Landis?
So I'm going to go to the questions I provided you to begin with. So what one in the stormwater report, there's a TDML of bacteria for the Neponset River, so that box needed to be checked, and then just explaining how your stormwater BMPs address bacteria.
That's in the stormwater checklist? What's that in?
Yeah, the stormwater checklist.
Okay.
Landis,
There's
do
a
you notice
box.
what TDML stands for?
It stands for
Total something.
total
Dissolved
Dissolved.
dissolved,
metals?
Something load,
not metals,
something
load,
load, right?
minimum, maximum load.
Maximum
Oh,
load.
maximum load. Bacteria. Probably bacteria.
It's late, it's late. I would've been bad at that.
It means the Neponset River has so much bacteria, and through the MS4 permit, the EPA, NIPD's permit, communities have to address the TDLM of certain rivers. So bacteria is the one for Neponset, so it's now in the, well, actually, it's been in the report for a while, and it's been grazed over for some time, but yeah, it needs to be addressed. And usually the answer is we're infiltrating, and infiltrating does work, but just acknowledging, addressing, writing a blurb, lots of things get said at public meetings, but we really need them written down for the record as well, so. And so the outside storage area where you've indicated on the plan that snow equipment, curbing, et cetera, will be stored is right over the double catch basin. That seems to be a conflict.
If you think it's a conflict, let's move it. I could put it over
The
here.
way
And
yeah,
the parking over there, I don't care.
seems like a snowplow could obstruct flow going into the
Well,
double
they're usually
catch.
sitting on blocks and water goes under them, but yeah, I don't have a problem with that. You don't care. Just put the storage on the other side, that's all.
Okay, and you addressed Carl's concern about the flowage onto
Yeah.
South Street. No vehicles should be washed on the site, because you don't have a containment area. You don't wash, how do you usually take care of your vehicles, equipment?
We've been washing on site,
You
Power
have to
washing.
wash.
power washing, yeah.
And where is the water gonna go?
Well, now it just goes over the ground, but
Yeah,
it will
with
go in
this,
the
it'll go
drainage
in the-
system if
yeah.
we put it in.
Well, you power wash it with soaps? You can't power wash it with soaps.
We use a heated power washer.
So it's,
Steam.
so it's just it's warm
World's
water.
most expensive power washer. But it does the trick, gets everything off.
It doesn't use soaps. Oh, sorry.
I don't use soaps.
You shouldn't use soaps, and if it's warm water, it should, well, be going into the infiltration, it'll be going into the ground.
After we're done, it will all go into the infiltration. Right now, it just goes overland.
I know, but we're not talking about it now, we're talking about once it's developed.
Yeah, once it's developed, no, it'll go in the infiltration system. We're gonna capture everything.
Well, that can be addressed with the order. And so, and then, well, we'll leave that issue for a moment. As far as the application, in the application, you have indicated degraded riverfront area, but you also have applied to alter 4,960 square feet of riverfront area, which includes the degraded and the non-degraded riverfront area, the total being 4,950,
Total
correct?
being 4,960.
So the commission can permit riverfront disturbance of 5,000 square feet or 10% of the riverfront area. The standard for meeting the degraded riverfront area is that 10.585, area degraded prior to August 7th, 1996 by impervious surface from existing structures or pavement, absence of soil, junkyard, or abandoned dumping grounds. It's a pretty high bar if you're calling it degraded. I don't think you've submitted enough information to the commission to meet that bar. I understand there was a rail trail at some point, but it's not clear from what I've seen that it's the area that you're proposing is degraded, and that's why it is degraded. Also, the aerials that I looked at and I brought up last time, it's very clear to me that there was filling and grading in that area somewhat recently. So I don't see how that has been met. And given that, it seems like the commission could still approve your plan without you calling it degraded.
Just keep it under 5,000 square feet as we have. Okay.
You know, I understand that this design works best for your shop and everything, so I just expand on that a little bit, why the building has to be where it is, and why the yard has to be where it is, and that the area, the riverfront area that you're calling degraded, it could be just riverfront area that doesn't hold value for the interests of the act, and that in order to use that 5,000 square feet, you're proposing to improve part of the riverfront area, which you've shown on your plan you're willing to do anyways. So, but I think the commission has to hold tight that degraded riverfront definition.
Can I ask you, okay, so the issue is the calling it degraded riverfront area versus just riverfront area that they wish to improve?
Riverfront area that they wish to alter.
Alter, yeah.
Yeah, that in the regs, you're allowed to alter 5,000 square feet or 10% of the riverfront area. You have to show there's no alternative, and the commission has to agree that it's not a significant riverfront area. And if they're gonna make some kind of improvement, where I think in the plan, when you guys went out and did the site visit, there was a proposal to do some improvements to the riverfront area, which have been, you know, that could use additional plantings. Yeah, it was 1,800 square feet of improvements that you were going to make. That is pretty much it.
No questions, I mean, I'd like to see the discussion also, or the change of terminology.
Bailey?
No questions?
No questions.
Betsy?
I think the under 5,000 square feet is a good way to go, so I'm glad that Landis realized that, and that there'll be some improvements.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Al?
Well, I like Landis's suggestion of this snowplow and granite curb area moving down to the other parking spaces there, because that's an area in the riverfront, and that would be
Maybe move that number.
less offensive to the river. Because I know that when you pick up snowplows that haven't been used for a year, sometimes there's a broken hydraulic hose, something like that happens. And if you get it a little further away from the river, that's a good thing.
Yeah, we'll swap that around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
That's not
easy.
a problem.
Anything else, Al?
No,
Okay. I think, it's been pointed out that the area that had been referred to as the degraded riverfront area does not apply in this application, but I think the commission is, sounds like the commission is agreeable to just calling it, develop that 5,000 square feet, so you're under the threshold for that, so that, I think the commission has to give some response to why we are accepting that proposal as opposed to it being degraded.
Yeah, I think the wording is, you just make a finding that it's not significant to the interest of the act. I mean, it's
So-
definitely been changed at some
Yeah.
point or the other, so.
Do we need to say anything other than that to, or just, is that statement sufficient? Do we have to explain how we arrive at that conclusion?
Well, the interest of the act being, water quality,
Yeah.
wildlife
But
habitat.
do we have to explain why, or just say that it is our opinion and it does not?
Yeah, you can,
conflict with you?
we should probably put some reasons down, so.
Well, I think they are improving it.
Would you call it all not degraded, Landis, or?
It doesn't
Here
meet
it is
the,
gravel parking?
it doesn't meet the definition, and you
No,
haven't
I
shown
think
that.
this portion would be more apt to meet that, because it's all gravel parking. It shows up in all those pictures you showed.
Pre-1996?
Probably, I mean, all the pictures she had, it was there.
Not probably, it's a high
It's in the-
bar, it's, you have
Well,
to
What was
signi-
in your photos as being that part wasn't treed,
I
or it
don't
was
think
all
we've seen that from
rubble?
pre-1986. The photos we had were more recent.
Oh, I thought you had some with 96, no? All right,
Isn't
whatever,
I think
that's
if
fine,
we
that's
just,
fine.
So we just
if we
change it to
just,
No,
I
that's fine, it's just terminology. I just was wondering if you wanted to call it all or just parts of it. That's fine.
think we'll stick with it, the 4,000, whatever it is,
Almost-
square feet.
you classify more as pre-developed, but, I mean, degraded is like a junkyard, it's a paved area.
So we have, we're approving it as, it's less than 5,000 square feet, and it's improving the
There's an improvement to-
existing, the existing conditions are being improved by drainage.
With that 1,800
Yeah.
square foot.
Plus, we're getting 1,800 square feet of, that's that vegetated area, that
Correct.
you re-vegetated area?
Yep.
Okay.
That's where the invasives were growing.
So we need to reference that also as part of that, okay? You need anything else?
So I'll just write that in the findings, yes.
Okay. One other issue, how many square feet outside of the buffer zone are you disturbing?
About an acre, a little over an acre, 50,000.
Okay, you have not filed a land disturbance permit.
Correct, we haven't done that yet.
You intend to,
I believe so.
okay. Do you want this continued to include that, or are you gonna do that
No,
separately?
he needs to get his financing in order, and if we can get this closed, that will get his financing going in this
Okay.
building, purchased.
You are aware that you
Yep.
are required to do a
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
land
no
disturbance permit, okay. Just to
Well, we can just
clarify that.
require that prior to
Any construction,
starting.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, he needs to, They have to order the building, and, you know, I don't know what's going on in today's world and to get things, so the sooner he can get this, and we think we'll get planning board next week, so if we get these, and he's gonna go ahead and start ordering his building, and so if we
I
could,
don't know when you plan to start work, but,
I won't be for, I don't think you'll be starting this year, you probably won't play till spring, right?
Yeah, probably,
December.
yeah, depends on when the building can get ordered. I have to have these
so
two
you're
things done.
aware of our time schedule,
Yeah,
the remaining time this year? We have one meeting in November, one in December.
it's fine. I'm away on the November one anyway.
I'm just, we're glad to hear that.
Oh, you won't miss me? You won't miss me?
And just so you're aware of the
That was terrible.
time in advance to file to get
Yeah,
on
that's
the-
fine.
to get on the agenda, okay. Okay. Nobody in the audience for comments? Okay. So, I guess we can close our hearing. You got some revisions to make.
So I'm gonna give you a revised plan, we're gonna change the graded to just riverfront disturbance. And I'm gonna show you, move the, storage to the other side and put the parking there.
Okay.
You wanna see some snow storage on there too, Landis? You had talked
Yeah.
about snow storage. So just so, everything will be stored on the site, there's no snow, the whole site's fenced, so he can't get the snow out of there anyway, so everything will be stored in the site. You know, some, probably over on that side and the far side away from the wetlands. That's his biggest area to store stuff, so we'll push the snow over there. Some will be stored up in this corner, but nothing will be stored along here.
Okay,
But it all, the whole site's fenced and secured, so you can't just push it over the wall. There's a guardrail there and a fence on the wall.
Put a note that there's no
Dumping.
soap washing of vehicles.
You're gonna
No
note that?
use of soap when washing vehicles.
No using soap. Okay.
okay. All right, so we're ready to close the hearing then?
Getting approval.
Okay, someone make that a motion?
So,
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
600. Okay, for the order.
Perfect.
You got the findings and our reasons for the findings.
Yep, well, the determination of insignificance of the river, well, yeah, of the riverfront area. So we'll reference in the order the improvements that are on the plan, just because sometimes the plans get separated from the orders. So,
Okay, any vehicle washing will not include soap. What else did we have here? Oh, requiring a land disturbance permit prior to construction.
Perfect. Done. We should get that next week.
I'll put a pre-construction meeting, because
Yeah.
I always do that anyways.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
usually boilerplate.
Right.
Sounds about it.
What else? Anybody have anything else?
Send him an email.
Needed
send
in
him the
here.
plan. 'Cause I don't know if it went out of quotation.
You want the easement, sort of,
Can. Make
any
sure.
discussion about the easement?
On the trail. That trail that goes along the river, part of that's on your property. Actually, the town is on either side of it. Would it be unreasonable to put in that trail as an easement would exist? Just as an easement for the town?
I believe that's been brought up before. I'd be willing to explore it. I don't have enough information personally, how that would affect legal ownership and all that. But I can look into that and
Most of that
advise
trail
a response, I think.
is inside the inner riparian zone to begin with.
Yeah, correct.
And it all is within the riparian zone, but most of it is inside the inner. And it's there, it's been there for,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah, no, I'm not speaking on my opinion on it. I'm just, it'd be financing.
yeah.
I don't know how that would affect, I don't know enough about it. But I know that's been brought up, and I know that's something that might be explored. I'd be open to explore it, but I don't have enough.
We could also, you won't know, I would just say that could also be a plus for the activity in the river, your activity in the riverfront area, that you are
As a benefit.
providing,
Yeah,
providing that.
yeah, I can see that, absolutely. I don't know, I don't know
You have to
what
look- I
once
think
you
it-
award something like that, I don't know enough about,
One other thing to
I
consider,
just don't know how that would affect it. I don't know.
Your
from
mortgage.
your standpoint,
And the mortgage.
if it's an easement to the Conservation Commission and the town and its Conservation Commission, that insurance, the town has insurance for its properties, and I would think that that would be, if it's actually under jurisdiction of the town, that the town's insurance would,
Protect it.
if there was some insurance issue that your lawyer might bring up.
Yeah, I do remember we did have an issue, not an issue, it was raised when I bought the property, and we had the town parking question was, kids parking there at night, what activity, what legal?
Right.
I've been liable, unbeknownst, I was legal for that. That was the idea of moving the parking. So
Right.
now there's no vehicular trouble,
Right,
so this would be like the second question here, for sure.
yeah.
I'd be open to explore that for sure.
Okay, so if you could, yeah, just check that out, but I think that, I guess we could include that the applicant is considering. that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Flowers
just good to bring it up. We can
Yeah.
talk about it more
Yeah.
during the land
I do have
disturbance
to check with the
permit.
bank.
You got a loan on the
Yeah, that
property.
could also be part of the land disturbance permit, if you get that squared away with your lawyer.
Right.
Another possibility is to get a good appraiser, get that appraised, donate it, and take a big tax deduction.
Donate
This,
Conservation or
all
whatever.
the land.
A&R part off your
Oh,
parcel.
chop this piece right off.
Yeah,
Yep,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
We'll call it the Ian Brown Memorial Trail.
yeah.
still here.
That was a good one.
There goes your PI, you're gone.
What's your dad's name?
okay, let's move on.
Right.
So that's, we have the order, we have to vote on that. Was there anything else that we need to put in here? Okay, so someone make that a motion for the order?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 600. Okay, thank you.
You can go on. Thank
Thank
you.
you guys for your time, appreciate it. Just go off myself.
Get a trail out of it, come on.
The hash brown trail.
Have to, exactly.
Ash Brown Trail, there you go.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That might lead to some more questions, but that's fine.
Okay, moving on. We gotta get out of here, guys.
Oh, no, we can't leave yet, we got one more
Oh,
thing
so
to
do you have
talk
those
about.
calculations for lot 6?
Yeah, I forget you. I should've snuck out when I had a chance.
I thought you were gonna blow it off to next meeting and then say you wouldn't be here. Sorry.
That's the November one. So, I did look into it, I think I should've brought more of these. That's just my letter. So I'll explain it to you. So,
Can you explain it in less time than it'll take me to read it?
Can you explain it using a microphone, because otherwise it's people are.
just turn the house
listening
on.
to it.
Alright. So I pulled out, went through the drainage report and looked at everything. So this is the isolated, this is the wetland on lot 6. So this is the runoff area here. This is the one that comes down from up, actually, I did go all the way up to the guy's house. So I included this area flowing down on the property. Didn't include this piece though. This piece goes around to the cul-de-sac. So in the calcs, this is the flow line, this dash line. So it was always flowing if it overflowed, and in the calcs, we showed it going down there. And I looked at the numbers, it's about 9 CFS during a 100-year storm, 10 CFS flowing out of that wetland, it's surface flowing via overland.
Which, are you using the new
That's the,
rainfall calculations, or those are the
no,
old
these are the
ones?
old ones, this is back, but anyway. So then I said, so he's got the house here now, which is bigger than this house, but he also put the retaining wall on a 25-foot buffer, which wasn't shown anywhere before. And so that is not allowing the flow to continue anymore. So he needs to put the spillway in the swale to let the water release out of that wetland. And that's what I say in my letter. And I just did a quick sizing on the swale. It's like 3-4 feet wide. It's probably like this deep. I caught it like 6 inches deep. It'll carry like 17 CFS. It's a swale. It's just a grass swale. It'll carry a lot of water.
How much is that completed now?
We built, none of it is, the swale. So the wall goes around here, and then it ends because you ran out of blocks. And so the water spills this way at the end of the wall and goes down on the driveway of Lot 5. We've all seen it.
Yeah.
So he's gonna now, what he's gonna do is take out some blocks, create a spillway at the top of the wall, and then build that grass swale around the house.
Okay, now what about the homeowner?
We got a letter from the homeowner saying it was okay.
Oh, you did?
That's what I saw in the report.
Okay.
I asked Lou to do that. I didn't think he would.
He didn't, I sent a letter to
Oh, you did?
No, he didn't, you're right. Well, you read him really well, bro.
Yeah, I didn't think he was gonna talk to them, to be honest, but, so I did that. I wrote the letter, just clarifying it a little more. And, yeah.
Okay, anybody have any question?
What do they need
So the
from
water
us?
doesn't disappear, Al. It always flowed out. We just never saw signs of it when we were out there before they built, because you didn't see scouring leaving the wetland. You know, it's just weird. It was one of those situations. And then, yeah. So I think if he builds a swale, he'll be in, he'll be fine.
And there was lateral movement from the wetlands
Yeah.
to the soils.
Well, it slopes. The wetland slopes in that direction.
Any questions, Landis?
Okay.
Fine, yeah.
Okay.
Was that Brooks?
Dean, got any questions?
No, thank you.
Bailey?
Which one was this? Brook-
Boyden Estates.
Boyden, okay, no questions, thank you.
Doug?
No questions.
Betsy?
No,
Al?
I'm okay.
Okay, I think as long as we got the letter from the homeowner.
Well, let's just see if we can
Now-
get him to build a swale before the winter.
Okay, so that's, I would think that plan, that's
But you have-
different.
You have them, but you can keep them.
Is this the one, is this the one you gave us
That would
before?
be in the old drainage report. I
This
took
is
it
the
out.
old,
You can put them with the letter, and that way it's all
Oh.
together and it's fine.
but we have, you did a plan, has that changed?
I say see attached plan, so you should attach it to it.
This plan,
Yeah,
all right.
those two plans, that's the existing and proposed.
Okay, you did another one that just showed that lot with a
Swale.
swale.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
We
something.
have that,
Yeah,
it's
you
in
have
the
that.
file.
Is that the same?
Yeah, I didn't change it. That's the
Okay.
same swale.
All right, so I would think it would be
Attach it all to that.
appropriate to send a letter to Petrosi that we expect this swale to be constructed. He doesn't need any more blocks.
No,
No. So,
confirm it if you have to.
okay, so that,
He's been saying that, he's been
that
saying
we,
that he can't
he
build the wall.
should follow the plan, and I don't reference that plan in this letter, based on the letter,
He's seen the
brother.
letter, I showed it.
well,
today.
but based on the letter of October 13th from GLM and the plan, and reference that date, and the title of it, whatever it is.
I mean, I'll say something to him, see if I can push him and get the swale.
Well,
moved
you
there.
can-
I've said it to him before.
Oh, yeah, so I intend to. That we will send him get a letter, and whenever you
Sure.
get a chance to send it out, I will give him,
I figured the best pressure is the two homeowners, so at this point, I'm like, well, if they don't care, then different stuff.
Why wouldn't they?
we'll send it with a letter and give him 10 days to finish it.
is it gonna get stabilized?
What do you mean?
If he does it now, it will. The
Okay.
grass will
When
grow.
you want
When
it
you
done?
s-
Right, but,
Waits
Whenever
another
you can
month and a
send the
half.
letter out.
no,
And
and
give
then,
them 10
then the
days to
spring it
complete
will
it.
be
Days to complete it.
destroyed.
Subject to fine of $300 per day for
I thought he was gonna do it
failure to
last month.
complete it.
Okay.
The landscape is
So
over.
it has to be,
Yeah.
all right, at this point, he's gonna have to sod that, right? You're gonna do a swale and put grass?
These swales and grasses, he's gonna
Well,
have to
how about
put
the fence,
netting.
though?
Yeah, there's three.
He's gonna have to put the straw netting down.
How is he gonna deal with a fence?
The what?
Fence.
What fence?
The fence that the homeowners put around the property.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's a
When
fence
that
there.
go up, just recently? Who put it up, lot 6 or 5?
Lot 6? They
Is
have
that
to
around
deal
the
with the
pool?
fence. It's, it
Part of it?
goes from somewhere in the back of the house along out and along their property line with lot
Oh, goodness.
5.
5.
Oh, dear.
Still the fence.
You have to deal with it.
All right, but if, to
Usually
do it
3
now,
pages.
you have 10 days to do it.
Okay.
He's gonna need, he can't plant, it's too late to plant grass
Pages,
seed.
not usually 3.
So he's gotta put down sod
Put the,
or
I don't
the
know.
put the vegetated netting.
vegetated
Let's ask.
sod, or is that it? Vegetated netting, is that the correct definition?
You want the vegetated one with the straw in it, because it has seeds in it too, so
Yeah.
it'll grow.
Okay, so that's, so we define that properly, so he knows what we're talking
Okay,
about?
sure.
Not come out with some, this goes with that. Okay. All right, so we want to
have
vote on
3
that?
signature pages here.
Why are there 3 signature pages?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I did two.
see, we weren't.
So you didn't
Save
sign
one of
that?
those.
Somebody wanted it wrong.
Got a third one?
Sign them all.
Mine's gonna be worth something
I
someday.
just handed you what she marked as South Street.
Okay, so what, are we moving something?
My brain is gone.
Okay, what, did you want
Sorry.
someone?
We're sending Mr. Petrosi a letter to put the swale in and to have it vegetated with the, whatever, vegetated straw mat.
Mr. Petrosi, I see it, he leaves.
And 10 days, and
Yeah,
subject, if it's not done, subject to fines of $300 per day.
10 days. Is that business days?
Is that enough? I think they should be business days.
Yes.
10 business days, right?
Agreed.
Make it 10 business days, just put a time on it, whatever it is, 2 weeks, I don't care, we need a time.
Okay, moving on. Can we move
Is
on?
that, so someone make that a motion?
I'll move it, second.
All in favor?
You have to
Opposed?
abstain.
Not for this, this is for the, this is just for the letter for the swale,
Sure.
okay?
Okay,
Okay, 600.
all right,
So whenever you send that out, just give them the dates from there.
This
okay.
is my annual golf.
Sounds good. So, moving on. Brookside Village
Okay,
is not ready, certificate of
All right, good
compliance.
night, Bob.
Thanks, Rob.
Bye.
Good night.
Still waiting for material from them. Lost Brook Trail off Delaney Drive, which is the road construction and the stormwater basin, that's good, you can issue that.
Lost Brook, number 2, number 3. Did that house get sold?
We're doing the subdivision first.
Okay.
So 10, 3,
Thank you.
10, yeah. That's not it.
Lost Brook.
Lost Brook, right, the subdivision. Lost Brook Trail off Delaney, DEP 315048, it used to be Hogler.
It's okay? Oh, this was Hegler's?
Yes,
So it's okay?
yes, it's
Someone
okay.
make that a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Saying 600.
Okay, so for the subdivision, there was two houses. One, Lot 1, which we dealt with earlier, it was just an RDA request for determination, and then they went and they cleared their backyard, and we had to do an enforcement, and they complied with plaques and plantings. Lot 2 was a notice of intent. They had to cross an intermittent stream with a box culvert and then build the house. The order of conditions said to put no alteration plaques on either side of the bridge at the 25-foot. And I guess there was a miscommunication. At one point, I probably saw him in the hall, or he came to the office, and he said, "Can I put plaques on the bridge?" And I said, yes. But I didn't mean that that was in place of the ones that were going at the 25-foot no alteration area. So there's no plaques there. So he needs to still do that.
This is Lot 2 for Lost Brook?
This is lot 2 for Lost Brook.
All right, so it's not ready yet.
It's not ready, as well as the area over the culvert. There's, the driveway is paved, and then there's kind of just a gravelly area, and then there's there's a wooden rail, and then there's the head wall for the culvert. But there's nothing stabilizing that area in between the pavement and the rail. And there's a rock wall there as well, so it seemed to me it needed some sod, or it needed some loam and seed, or it needed some riprap, or it needed something so erosion wasn't gonna occur, so. I sent him both those comments today.
Okay. And Pine Street is still on hold?
Pine Street, I'm still waiting for the items that I asked for.
Okay, so what are you looking for?
So those are the certificates, so you issued this one, issued that one.
Did the one.
Okay, great, good. 2 is on hold. And, right, so we have a site walk for the Pinnacle
And we're gonna
tomorrow
meet,
morning at 10.
we're meeting on Pinnacle Drive.
We have a sidewalk?
Is that
Tomorrow.
Pinnacle Drive, we're meeting?
I'm not sure. The last time we met, we did meet on Pinnacle Drive.
Okay. So that's
Um,
Pinnacle Drive, everybody?
Sure.
Can be there?
So Dean and Bailey, you weren't part of the votes on the historic mill complex?
Oh, correct.
Yeah, so.
Was I?
We were not.
That was very loud.
You were not on the board when
Before
it started.
Oh,
But if
yeah.
they were interested in seeing it, they could.
So,
Oh, maybe not.
right,
Okay,
so
sorry.
I wasn't, so
So,
it's a quorum issue as well, but I mean,
It's not a public site visit, is what you're saying. It's a specific
it,
commission visit.
it's a site visit, it's DEP's site visit, because the historic mill complex request for determination that was issued by the Conservation Commission was appealed by the applicant.
Right.
So it goes to DEP, and DEP then renders their determination.
So they actually read it and they want to do a site visit.
Yeah, they usually do.
Wow.
They usually just,
No, I'm saying it's pretty quick.
Do we participate in the discussion during this, or we
they
just
generally
saw?
ask if the commission has questions.
Oh, okay.
So they're gonna go out there, look at it, and then make a decision on the appeal.
They don't make it on the spot. They go and they take in information, and then they go back to the office in 30 days or whatever.
Do they submit a letter or anything in response to his appeal that they've sent to us?
We got a copy of the appeal, and then I got an email that they were gonna do a site visit.
Is it?
Yeah, then they do a site visit and they
If
discuss
you-
it amongst themselves and they
Anybody
issue
has-
a decision.
Anybody has, like particularly the applicant, has any information they want to submit, they will tell them they have to submit it by whatever date.
Right.
And if we need to say anything additional, we can also comment back to DEP. I think it's essentially the what comprises a structure. That was the issue.
She was happening at
It was, and the timeframe.
A meeting.
Well, it was also what was the spirit of the act and what are we trying to protect and,
I think comes down to what's the structure and what existed in 96, whatever the date was.
but it's also not
Agreed.
supposed to contradict the protection of rivers either. I mean, it's supposed to be working sort of in tandem, rather than superseding it.
Correct. Okay, Dean?
Are we all set with that one?
And just the board comments, so with, the planning board, garden path estate, which is what Legacy Engineering presented tonight. I don't know if there's any additional comments you want to provide to the planning board in regards to that plan. I didn't have any specific.
We just let them know it's before us for a
Yeah.
land disturbance
Sure.
permit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lincoln Estates, we can let them know they withdrew the NOI and that they're just moving forward with the land disturbance permit. If you want to tell them anything else.
Both of them have been continued, just let them know that we've continued them, or they're before
Well,
us.
they withdrew the notice of intent.
Yeah, but they're land disturbance permits, they're both under continuing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the ZBA, the Neponset Solar site.
That's the,
It's behind Harwood Engineering.
wood?
Yes.
Didn't we have something on that before about whether it was
Yep.
within our jurisdiction from the river, Deposit River?
Well, I know we talked about it because it went before town meeting for the overlay district.
Right. But they have to come before us for land disturbance, because they're gonna put a whole bunch of solar panels back there.
That'll be land disturbance. But I think they were outside of the riverfront area.
Right.
Okay, so only,
So
it would be a land disturbance
Yeah.
permit.
Yeah, and I think I had already just provided the planning board with a letter because their cover sheet, I had gone out there and walked the site before the town meeting because they asked me to just get an idea what's out there and they just wanted my comments, wanted to know my feelings about the site. And they included on their cover sheet to the planning board a note pointing to the wetlands limit, and it said, "Wetlands information has been reviewed by Landis Hershey of the Walpole Conservation Commission. The project will not disturb any of these areas." So I told them to take that off. That's not how we make determinations. So I think they correct that.
Lance, question about the garden estates. It's, who, I'm sorry, I don't really know this, who approves these development plans for the town?
So who approves, so their subdivisions are filed with the planning board.
So it's the planning board that approves all this.
Right, and they review them based on the subdivision review standards.
So what, I guess, jurisdiction do we have to say, no, you can't have 6 lots in these 4 acres, it's too much, and you're taking too many trees down, and it's not gonna be good for the homeowners who can only use half of their property or a fifth of it because they've got a big infiltration basin covering it? Like, what, do we have any?
No,
We don't have anything?
nope,
Can't even make recommendations?
not really.
That's not really our issue.
Well, if they're taking down the trees,
I think with the subdivision, which we made the point of clear cutting it, can they leave some trees? They will provide some kind of landscaping, but it doesn't equate to what is there now.
Right.
But as a property owner, they have the right to develop it. I think that's basically, it's a basic right of property ownership to within the rules that exist for the community, that a landowner has that right to use his property.
Unless a board decides to put some qualifier in a bylaw saying certain percentage of a lot could, only a certain percentage of a lot can be cleared. But as far as I know, there's not. That's not in any bylaw here in
Yeah.
Walpole.
I mean, there is a percentage that it has to be a certain amount of upland to make a lot.
Okay.
So that there are some, but it still gets back to, somebody owns a property, if they can meet the subdivision requirements.
Yeah. What are our subdivision requirements for lot sizes? Do we know?
The lot sizes are based on zoning.
My lot's only 10,000 square feet.
So there's different zoning districts in the town that have lot size requirements.
Okay. Thank you.
Dean?
I have an update for the steering committee.
Okay.
We had one meeting.
I don't feel so bad then.
We had a meeting last week. Should we close this hearing before I discuss it? No.
No,
Yeah, I had a meeting last week, and basically, the whole team is together except for two folks. We're still interviewing two people, but we met with the consultant. Barrett? Why does Barrett come to my mind?
Barrett, yes.
Yeah. Barrett Consulting. So the last time we've done this, like 14 years ago, 10 or 14 years ago. We're moving forward with the new one. The plan is to release it next year. It's gonna take 1 year, lots of interviews. So we had one in-person meeting. The next meeting will happen soon, and it'll be a virtual meeting. And then they're just gonna start putting the word out there, and that's really what we did. We brainstormed, what is great about Walpole? And I piped in and say, all our conservation land. And I said, all our trail network, and I said, we are rich with, trails and all this conservation lands. So I did my piece. So I will continue to follow through, and now we'll go through, we're still brainstorming, how do we contact people in Walpole? Because it's challenging, there is a diverse community of all ages, something like 50% is over the age of 50 or something. So it's very interesting, because you can't just say, oh, we'll just send stuff home with the kids, because, so a huge portion of the population doesn't have kids or doesn't speak English. So that's where we're at. We're at brainstorming how to connect with people, and then we'll go into interviews and start building it.
That's
Sounds
always the
good.
hardest part, I
Reaching,
think, reaching people.
and having
Yeah.
people just give feedback.
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
They always seem to find you after the fact, but when you're looking for them,
Or when something goes wrong, they let you know.
One thing, though, you mentioned the trails, that we, mostly Friends of Adams Farm Trail Committee, did that boardwalk up on the power line
Great.
over the weekend.
Oh,
And
well, that's great.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's 100% complete, but pictures I saw, there's a lot of it that is in place. It's, I think, total of 275 feet or something like that.
we didn't have that pre-construction hearing meeting.
You did have a pre-construction, yeah, we did.
And on the
we
bulletin
did.
board, is there a
Are you-
indication of how to get out there to it
I don't think it
yet? There should be.
Well, it's a dotted line on the existing trail map.
Okay.
But anyhow,
Yeah,
it's,
Great.
I think it'll be impressive when you get there and see how. A lot
yeah.
of it was, because a lot of it had to be done manually lugging stuff.
Wow. Great.
There's also another, that the New England Mountain Bike Association did a boardwalk over the intermittent stream on the Orange Trail. It's about maybe 40 feet
Recently?
in September, they did it. They did that in about 2 hours with the help they had, but it's not too far off the trail.
Huh.
It was easy to get to, a lot easier. Anyhow, just progress is being made. So you can add that on for, if anybody wants to, about trails, that, I don't know how we revised the trail map. The guy that did it no longer lives in town. Okay, someone make a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Are
Second,
you ready?
Aye.
We're done.
great.